Well, good evening, everybody. How are you? Good evening, Bob. Hi, Mandy. Indy. Welcome, welcome. I did post a link for you if you want to jump on. Who else we got in tonight? Dawn. Good evening to you. Mark H. Jamie Maddox. Always good to have you in, buddy. Yeah, I thought I'd do a little midweek live. I hope the lighting's all better because a very kind person today donated me some panel lights, so give me a little bit more space in here. So I hope you all do enjoy this. So yeah, I need to move them around a little bit, get the best possible light, as you can see. Hi, I'm out there now. But we'll post around here. Yeah, interesting things happening. Obviously, I want to speak about Ukraine. But it's just a general chit chat. I'll post the link in the chat if anyone wants to jump on, talk about their problems. Well, you know, to a certain extent, we've all got the same problems at the moment, haven't we? I got two boomers waiting backstage to come and say hello, so I'll bring them on in just a second. Yeah, I'd like to talk about the Ukraine because I watched an interesting 1-minute video earlier of Trump, and he said what Putin did was a good move because he's declared the Donbass region as independent, and he will go in there to peacekeep. No, he's not gone in there yet. He will go in there if he have to, but I'll bring Boomer in because I'm sure he will know more about it. But I'll bring the video up later so we can actually look at it. Good evening, Boomer. How are you?
Good evening. Good evening, all.
Good evening. Good evening. It'd be good if I turned you up. That'd be better so I can hear you. I do have a guest. Well, not a guest in the studio. in front of me there. But yeah, it's a bit weird. So I got to look at somebody all night long, and it's not Bianca. And I'm not going to tell you who it is. But anyway, how are you, Boomer? How are you?
Yeah, good. You?
Yeah, not bad. Yeah. Lights look all right. I just have to move a few things.
Yeah, it's good that someone donated. That's what we need.
Good.
More people to donate stuff.
Yeah, it's always good. I still have to move that on air over just a little bit. The O's is going to bug me all night. Hang on. It's going to bug me. That is bad. Oh, well, it's only a little bit. I can live with that.
How's your guest in the studio?
He's all right. He's just sat there with a set of headphones on. He said, would I be able to hear just your conversation? I said, well, if you just sat there with no headphones on, you would only be able to hear my conversation. You wouldn't be able to know what's going on the other end. But if I give you a set of headphones, you can sit there and listen. So he sat there watching it on YouTube, but I told him it's a little bit delayed on YouTube, so it won't be lip synced. But yeah, he's here. What's going on in Ukraine?
Well, where do you start?
Well, why don't we start about talking about the recognition of independence of the states within the Ukraine? You know, because I don't really think people get what it is all about and why they think Ukraine is so important, you know. So if we can start off with it, you know, we tried to start off with a little bit of history the other night, but if we can, you know, talk about what parts of the Ukraine wants to be Russian and what parts don't want to be, and, you know, really are going to become a problem within all this, you know, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it starts back from the Maidan Revolution, Color Revolution. Was that 2014? I think.
Right.
And essentially it was a coup. And the Russian positive government was overthrown and a West-leaning government was put in.
Right.
And then, and this West, hey, Indy.
Yeah, I just brought him in. Hello, Indy.
Oh gosh.
And this government decided to make Ukraine the official language for everywhere, and started those sort of policies. And the people in the east, Donbass, Donetsk, and all that, decided they didn't want to do that. They want to speak Russian, and that's what started all the issues. And essentially, they're getting forced to do stuff. You know, it'd be like I don't know, Scotland coming down here and then making you guys speak Gaelic or something.
Exactly.
Instead of English. Yeah.
Yep.
So then they had roughly a treaty set out in Minsk between all the parties. Everybody agreed. Europe, Ukraine, Russians, the people in the east of Ukraine. And that was 8 years ago. And Ukraine has never put it in because part of that is those regions would be semi-autonomous. It'd be like a federation. All the areas would be semi-autonomous. And Ukraine government didn't want that, and that's been semi-it for this time. The Ukrainian government has cut off the east with pensions and everything else anyway all this time. So essentially trying to starve them out, water, blah, blah, blah. Almost genocide. And it's come to a point right now, and the only way it seems to be fixed is obviously they declared independence. And this is to stop essentially a wider conflict happening. So hopefully this will stop it. And it may give other people in other areas in Ukraine more, what's the word? They might also now declare independence, like around Odessa and all that. From the central to the east is, very, very Russian leaning.
Mm.
The west part, which used to be part of Poland or the Habsburg Austrian Empire, they're Western orientated.
Mm.
And also they're full of right-wing groups.
What, the SS and things like that?
Yeah, Azov Battalion and all those sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
Now, and if anybody thinks there's no Russians there, they haven't moved in, they haven't even done anything, Donetsk and all that hasn't even asked them to move in yet.
no.
Or help as peacekeepers.
Well, as I'm going to play a little clip, you can probably see it on your screen. This is what Trump's take on the whole situation, of why he declared independence on those states. So we'll have a little play of this.
No volume.
No volume. I know what I have to do. I'll have to, hang on. It means like no one else can talk, yeah, like before. I got to do this. And you can never. Here we go. You're going to hear double back if you talk, right?
We know Russia has said that they are recognizing two breakaway regions of Ukraine. And now this White House is stating that this is an invasion. That's a strong word. What went wrong here? What has the current occupant of the Oval Office done that he could have done differently?
Well, what went wrong was a rigged election. What went wrong is a candidate that shouldn't be there and a man that has no concept of what he's doing. I went in yesterday and there was a television screen and I said, this is genius. Putin declares a big portion of the Ukraine. Putin declares it as independent. Oh, that's wonderful. So Putin is now saying it's independent, a large section of Ukraine. I said, how smart is that? And he's going to go in and be a peacekeeper. That's the strongest peace force. We could use that on our southern border. That's the strongest peace force I've ever seen. There were more army tanks than I've ever seen. They're going to keep peace all right. No, but think of it. Here's a guy who's very savvy. I know him very well, very, very well. By the way, this never would have happened with us. Had I been in office, not even thinkable. This would never have happened. But here's a guy that says, I'm going to declare a big portion of Ukraine independent. He used the word independent. And we're going to go out and we're going to go in and we're going to help keep peace. You got to say that's pretty savvy. And you know what the response was from Biden? There was no response. They didn't have one for that. Now it's very sad.
Do you see now though he's moaning about why Putin has amassed medical supplies of blood on the borders and everything? He said, well, you wouldn't bring blood to a peaceful, negotiations and things like that. So yeah, let me just get rid of that. But that was all right. What happened now, Andy?
Just kick me off.
Good evening, Drew. How are you? They were all puppets. It was like Trump was pushing the V, wasn't he, at the end, and they're all in on the whole bigger picture, but
and they've all got their own agendas as well.
It's not going to be. He's not invading. He ain't going to invade. Don't need to. He's just going in. But if he goes into these, well, the way I look at it, if he goes into these regions, we're going to turn around and say, "Oh no, he's invading," aren't we? This is what I think. Is that not right, Boomer, or wrong?
Going into
As soon as one goes across the border, they'll say, look, he's invading.
These regions that you're saying, if he goes into, they're classed as invade. Isn't they the ones that are actually speaking Russian and want to be part of part of Russia?
Yeah.
How the fuck?
It goes all the way down to the bottom, to, like Boomer said, to Odessa.
Yeah, you'll find out. You'll find out most Western and Eastern Ukraine is more Russian than anything else.
It's what we've.
But people have to remember, Ukraine didn't exist before the Soviet Union.
No.
It was created because the Soviet Union bosses were at the start very weak, and they wanted to make sure they kept control of all those regions. So they made them, obviously, Ukraine, Belarus, and all that. Put someone in charge until
He's not in the region, is he, Puma? He's already in the region, is he? He's not crossed. He hasn't put troops in, hasn't he?
No.
No, I didn't think he had.
There may be some Spetsnaz or something in there or something like that. Yeah, but
well, yeah.
Hey, here's the thing. NATO, Libya. Look what they did to it. Look what happened.
Yep.
Look at the results. ISIS, mass rapes, mass casualty events in Europe, all from that. Look in Syria. Russians were invited in to help Syria, and they stopped the war against ISIS. Americans, they're in Syria with a third of the territory, uninvited. They just went in there. It's the usual West thing, we can do it, you can't.
Yes. That's the way I see it now, you know what I mean? Rather than looking into it and then taking what mainstream says, oh, Putin, bad man. If you look into it, he's not really bad. He's not that bad anyway.
No, I'd say they're patriots and they love their country and they love their culture and they don't want it changed.
Oh, but that's bad though, isn't it?
Well, the EU today, EU in the court said about Hungary and Poland. They are now allowed to keep the funds, not give them to Poland or Hungary, because Poland won't have a judiciary system like the EU, right? And Hungary, essentially, the EU doesn't want like their society, and they want it to change it like EU society. And both of them have said no. So now they're about to withhold their funds, EU funds, which they put in.
I just let Drew in. He's not on the camera at the moment, or is he? Oh no, he's not sat there in his chroma suit. Please don't tell me he's sat there. Are you sat there in your chroma suit?
Nah. Nah, just in my front room, mate.
I was getting worried that you were gonna do something. Then it's like unzip your chroma suit and come out.
Nah, just sit in my front room.
How are you, Joe? Oh, that's a nice microphone you have there.
Yeah, it's a road.
That's a road, is it? Is that a road?
Yeah.
Hi, Drew.
All right. How you doing?
How is everything? You know, what's been happening? Got any news for us?
Not really. I've barely left the house recently. The old gallbladder stuff is playing.
Well, yeah.
You isolate.
You isolating.
No, I like to get out and about and breathe in the air and keep my immune system up like we used to in the old days. Get on a bus and have a bit of a cough and a sniff.
Yeah. We went to Kew Gardens today.
Oh yeah, you said that we were going to Kew. How was that today?
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah. Kew Gardens. Yeah, it was good.
Did you get?
I didn't. Well, I was going to, but you know what it is? Now I go places that do I need the hassle?
This is it. Once you've been hassled a few times, it makes you a bit wary, doesn't it? That's why I wouldn't get a drone, because I wouldn't get the use out of it.
Yeah, well, it was a flyable area, but I couldn't be bothered explaining myself. So.
Yeah, I was looking at getting a drone, and it's just if you go for the small ones like the Mavic Mini, you can fly it, but it's not going to match with kind of DSLR type footage.
The new Mini 3's out in April. It's supposed to have a bigger sensor.
Did you see that new drone with the 2 propellers? I sent you a link for it. It's like really shit. Good camera, but absolutely cannot control it.
It's called the Vulture in it or something stupid like that.
Yeah, something stupid like that.
Oh, the new DJ? Oh no, there's that.
No, it's like a set.
Isn't there?
Yeah.
I sent you a video of a review of that Ronin as well, Tyrant.
What, the new one?
Yeah, full review. Someone using it around.
Hang on a minute.
Andy, what have you been up to?
Nothing, mate. I moved my living room around today. I've done my corner, so I've got my green screen all up and everything. So tomorrow I'm going down to my garage. This should be fun. I'm going to try not to get eaten by the beasties that live in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in there. I'm going to fold up all the cardboard boxes and gaffer tape them all up, ready to be collected by the refuse collector guys, not the rubbish ones, but the people that I used to just go and do that. Yeah, I used to just
Honestly, mate, I'm telling you, you got a fucking nice garage. That you know, if I was Susie, I'd say to her nicely, "Can I chroma wall? Can I chroma paint that wall? Well, those two walls and that bit of the floor." Then I got a complete chroma everywhere. Then floor as well. In fact, just paint your whole garage chroma green.
No.
Well, mate, that's amazing. People are like be ringing you up saying, "Can I hire your chroma garage?"
I'm like, oh, you can hire one of my chroma sheets. That's it.
Do you know all the top films like Superman's and all that? They've been filmed in Bristol. They film all the green screen in the bottle yard because it's got one of the UK largest green screens. It's massive. It's a whole warehouse green screen.
Tyrant, you have been recalled.
What do you mean recalled?
Yep.
Oh, by the wife. Hang on then.
You'll need it
right. Speak amongst yourselves a minute.
In a minute, we're going to hear some girlish screams.
So, Drew, what have you been up to?
Oh, not much, mate. Moving the house around a bit, getting a bit of help from Keith, doing a bit of decorating. Trying to get the
studio going to the protest this Saturday?
Which one's that?
It's I think it's the human rights one for Save Our Right.
Okay, London, yeah.
Yeah, Speaker's Corner, I think it starts.
Oh, okay.
Right. It's gonna be a show.
I mean, there's so many of these kind of groups with flyers flying about. Normally, something to do with peers having a little bit of a, circus or whatever.
He'll be there. Yeah, he'll be there.
I've just kind of lost interest in it, to be honest. It's just
you need to start a drinking game when you're watching these streaming. Every time you see PS or any of those ones, you have a shot.
Yeah.
You'd be drunk within 10 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean,
by the time you get there,
I think we're getting, it's just this kind of cyclic merry-go-round circus that we're getting, or a lot of people get caught up in. And I don't know, I've just kind of sort of thought it's time to look at bigger picture stuff. I mean, just watching this Ukraine thing is mind-boggling, really. We've got a guy on the other side of the world in the form of a senile gangster, Biden, sort of with his bases surrounding Russia in various NATO countries, which we promised not to do when the Berlin Wall went down. And
funny you should say that. I found I'll send you the link, but there's a nice article and it lists all the documents and all the conversations where they said NATO would not go further than Germany.
Yeah, and now America is like, oh no, that wasn't anything official. That was just talk in negotiation, blah blah blah. Just sort of completely stepping it back. But I mean, just looking at the situation. Putin is inside his own country. I mean, if they started kicking off in Mexico, one group against another, the US would amass troops on their border. I mean, they amass troops on their border all the time and what have you for just immigrants. So,
exactly. Well, you could say Mexico's massing troops on the US border now.
Yeah. So, I mean, the way that this is kind of being painted as some huge threat, is insane. And I mean, it's basically someone 7,000 miles away is playing chicken with our lives for the sake of selling a bit more of their liquefied gas. They've spent years building these tankers, and it's all strong arming over Nord Stream, most of it. And the other sort of bigger geopolitical thing is that Russia is a large, well-resourced country, lots of oil, etc., lots of agricultural area, and they sit right next to Europe. And for 30, 40 years or whatever it is, since since the sort of collapse of the Soviet Union, we've had this developing country right on our border of Europe that has the potential to blow America out of the water. We've been hypnotized into sort of looking west for the last 50 years. Oh, God, the American flag and Levi's and all of this kind of selling us shit, basically. And it's supposed to have been some sort of virtuous thing. And, I think that really all it's all about is that, the Americans can see that, if Europe unites and sort of builds a market with Russia, they're pretty screwed, because all they've got is the Latin Americas that they've spent the last 60 years undermining in every possible way they could, and raping and pillaging with their banana republics and all of that sort of thing. So they're actually looking, other than having the big nukes, they're looking really lame and broken and ridiculous.
I'm back.
Well, it's the last dying embers of an empire, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. I mean, the insanity that has unfolded in the last sort of couple of cycles in America. They spent the whole last cycle spending every resource that Clinton had, putting everything into just like not looking after the interests of the American people, but savaging Trump and calling him a Russian spy and Russian piss enthusiast and all of this nonsense that's all been proven.
Yeah, huh? and I never got that, because every 4 years you can get rid of them. So all they had to do is wait.
But I mean, it's more the point that America is a crumbling country that spends more than half its federal budget on arms and war and CIA and all that shit every year. And their bridges are falling over, their schools are falling apart. I mean, we're no better off here in the UK, but it's just pure insanity at this point.
Yeah,
and Clinton's a gangster, Biden's a gangster. I'd say they're globalist gangsters, whereas Trump's just a sort of New York Goodfella type of, hey, I develop property, but he's not the kind of person who would quite happily depopulate by 70%. So his Bourgie mates could have gated communities with robot polishers.
Or Russia didn't even want to build the pipeline. Merkel convinced them.
Yeah.
They're looking east. They're building 3 pipelines to China.
Yeah, you're saying they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get this all out, I mean, we are basically looking at double the fuel price, and America sort of getting all butthurt and launching a nuclear Armageddon in our backyard, so they can sell their stupid liquefied fracking gas.
Yeah. Well, here prepared for higher gas and higher petrol prices because of American policy.
I can't afford. Like I said, my gas prices are soared already. I'm already £400 in debt. How?
Well, the Russians already said it's going to go. Get welcome to 2,000 euros, whatever it is, a cubic ton or meter or whatever it is.
Well, they say the average electricity energy cost is going to go up by 600 quid a family. It's absolutely mental.
That's got nothing to do with the Russians. That's just market supply. They keep cutting. They keep like this, having problems putting gas through Ukraine or not letting this pipeline through. And then, of course, Germany's closing down all their fossil fuel plants. And
mad. I had something. So go on.
No, go on.
I had something interesting through the post today. Very interesting. They want to use my child to do a study on. They want for us to test him because he's registered under the Children's Hospital because he has epileptic fits. So they want us to test him asymptomatically daily and send them off the results. They want us to even test him when he don't have any symptoms. It's
Why?
a bit mad. Yeah, why? That's what. Oh, because they're doing a study.
What, for COVID?
I don't know, mate. It's a letter they got. They want us to test him.
Yeah.
Test for what? Test with what?
Well, with the PCR
Oh, right. It's a yeah, right.
every day. Every day, and they send it off to them, and they do something with it, and they're studying or something. Studying what?
It's DNA.
Well,
I mean, it's insane. It's just the wonks going, oh God, we've got to justify having spent all these billions of quid on useless PCR tests that are going to just put
my missus are put in the chat now. Why? So we can know.
the planet for the next 30, 40 million years or whatever it is. All of this stuff is work making. It's like you can't get a doctor's appointment if you're properly ill, but they'll bombard you with person breast checks or prostate checks.
Yeah.
And it's all just, they get money for that. It's easy. They can just go blip, 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 blip. And it's
look at all these PCR test shops now. The chains.
Yeah, but then they say they're changing it. They're not obviously testing asymptomatic anymore. So obviously they're going to put a price on it now, aren't they? You want a test, pay for it. If you're asymptomatic, you're going to have to pay for it.
Up the road from me, that damn healthcare that they charge, I think it's £129 for a 7-dayer, and if you want one on the day, I think it's about £150 plus.
Trojan, what's on my yellow star? It says not 55. Vaccinated. Nick Skinfeld. It says not vaccinated. Nick Skinfeld.
Look at the American stock market. You'll see all the vaccine companies are rapidly falling because all the investors now think all of them are going to collapse, especially Moderna, and they think the mRNA, which doesn't work, they're now thinking that's going to be banned.
Bianca, what I was on about was the letter you received today regarding shithead and why they wanted to. Can you put it in the chat?
Is that your darling son you're referring to?
Oh, I'm telling you, the older he gets, the worse. I'm telling you, he's built like a tank, and he's only got to come running at you head first, and he's taking you out. He's big boy. So I got to keep him as a friend.
Indy, you're very choppy.
How do you mean choppy?
Very wild.
He's slow, isn't he? He's very slow.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Slow.
I'm looking for something. I've got an email earlier on about basically asking me to promote Ridge wallets. You know them.
Is that some sort of crypto? What does everyone think of crypto?
Richie Rebuilds does those, doesn't he? The old Ridge wallets.
What does everyone think of crypto? I've dabbled in it a little bit, but is it a long-term thing? Well, I just bought some new stuff and it made me a little bit. I don't see a bank making you a tenner in 2 days.
I think there's going to be about, if they don't pull the carpet somehow and undermine it or do some sort of majority attack or any of the sort of things they could think up.
Well, that Boomer said that even you think that all transactions are encrypted and there's no chain. Boomer says they can still trace. You can still follow it.
Yeah, all you need.
It depends what blockchain you're talking about.
Where was it the other day? I got a banner.
And it's totally open, and you can look at any wallet and you can see where that sent some money and in turn where that went, and so on and so on. It's completely open. That's the whole point of the blockchain. And things like Monero sort of more private, but there are companies that claim they have.
Is it private though?
Well, really, the sort of private and anonymous are sort of two different things. Yeah. So it's not private because the blockchain's open, but you can sort of do things to make it anonymous if you need to. Although, obviously governments have seen
But
the
surely,
profits that people have made.
right? If it's not physically in your pocket, right, they can come and take it away. You know, I don't know. Boomer gave me this the other day. The FBI formed a cryptocurrency unit, so they can seize your virtual assets like bitcoins and blockchain stuff like that.
Mm.
What a lot of people don't know is the hash algorithm was actually created by the National Security Agency in America.
NSA. Yeah, you said that. The NSA created it, so it is obviously.
I mean, a lot of all of that sort of stuff was government funded, but you know, these hash algorithms and SHA and all that, they are kind of auditable, so it's not like it's kind of a black box. You know, you've got, I mean, obviously complexity is an issue. I mean, you know, who's going to audit Tor, for example, which was, you know, funded by DARPA.
Yeah, but to me,
US Navy created that.
Yeah, but to me, it's just all a bit suspicious. You know what I mean? This currency that is just in the cloud. And years ago, people were
in the cloud.
Well, wherever it is, I don't really understand it, right? To me, it doesn't exist. It's just numbers, right? And years ago, everyone was like, "Oh, don't touch that cryptocurrency." And then you nowadays, even if you have one Bitcoin, and that's what £30,000. You know, so how do you make that sort of? It's to me out of nothing, because cryptocurrencies, there's no. What is it? What's it backed by?
Well, I mean, in a sense, it's backed by the same thing as fiat. You know, faith.
Exactly, it's backed by fuck all.
Yeah. I mean, it can collapse at any time if everybody thinks that it's shit.
There are sort of, you know, there are supposed to be things in place, like, you know, the blockchain is, you know, complete in enough places that, you know, it, you know, can't theoretically disappear unless we sort of, you know, completely go back to the Stone Age.
Solar flare.
Yeah, no, I mean, a big electronic magnetic
EMP
pulse incident or something, which we're well overdue for. I mean, you know, the sun's sort of been very sort of interesting and active lately.
Yes, the last big one was 1865. Carrington
was
event.
that Carrington event?
Yeah.
You'll be NFT in everything in your life. You'll own anything, but you'll have loads of NFTs.
That is bollocks. You know, you can argue about, you know, shit coins and Bitcoin and all that, but NFTs, man.
Yeah.
What the actual fuck? I mean, I remember when, you know, because like I've been into computers since the beginning of the internet. You know, I played with BBCs and Sinclairs as a kid back in the 80s, late 70s sort of thing. And, you know, they were talking about sort of virtual assets and the idea of, you know, stuff in games that you could purchase. And we were like, that's a bit mental, but maybe if it's with runes or some imaginary money, yeah, you know. But here we are a few decades later, and we've gone through the stage where people are sort of paying hundreds of thousands for real things in various sort of online games and stuff. And we've now moved on to where we've become so detached from sort of actual physical value in things that
reality
people are now selling NFT pictures, which, you know, I mean, you can just download the whole fucking lot, and it's just like, why would you pay $1,000 or $10,000?
Well, that's how he put it, didn't it? If David Beckham,
picture of some
Japanese
cartoon or something.
It's like he said, if David Beckham had 10 pictures and he wanted, obviously, for all 10 pictures, £10,000.
Picture of Boris's breakfast.
Yeah, he can sell that, get his money, but still make money if they resell it after. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? What's all that about? So you could be making money from it decades after.
Oh, bullshit.
Well, that's what they're saying.
I like how they say NFT.
That's what they're saying, but I mean, you know, it's... I see it more as a psyops than anything else. It's just they're testing the boundaries of our sort of physical reality, trying to take us into the meta space and, you know, presenting all of these kind of, you know, virtual things to test the waters. And I mean, the uptake and the sort of buzz around NFTs has been very odd because there's been very few sort of people pointing out the emperor's new clothes and sort of, preferring to just rub their hands in glee and get on the bandwagon.
Mm.
Although a friend of a friend has actually made quite a bit of money out of these things, like, hundreds of grand.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
he's
well,
seen it for
you're
what
getting
it
free.
is, and he's just milking it, basically.
Yeah. Getting quick, milk it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But back to the Bitcoin stuff, I
Yep.
think that what we'll end up with is a sort of ecosystem of maybe half a dozen or a dozen coins. We'll have Bitcoin maybe for the bigger transactions, Litecoin for smaller transactions, something like Monero for buying your drugs and porn with. And then there's other things like the Helium network, which are kind of starting up, and it's those are quite interesting. Like there's Helium and there's other things. There's people sort of kind of paying you for sort of proof of position, I guess it would be called. It's sort of like you are sort of on the internet on a GPS, and people like Hermes Trucks and TNT, they have these little low-ra transmitter receivers in their vans, and I mean they're literally sort of like a Raspberry Pi and a sort of $30 circuit board on top, and they ping. So you can see them coming up on some things like APRS.fi, and it's a kind of backup network, I guess, or some sort of auditing thing that all of these companies can use it for. And so you can earn Helium or Helium-like crypto from just running one of these nodes on your windowsill, and it gets pinged by delivery guys and meter readers and all that kind of thing. That's quite interesting. I think there's going to be a sort of lot of non-centralized mesh networking stuff in big cities, especially.
And that's why the elites are worried everything's being decentralized.
I think everyone should get their ham radio license and get at least aware of things like LoRa and mesh networks, because you can go out and buy a pair of I think they're called Tigo little LoRa mesh network devices that you sort of plug into your you have an
I've
app
seen
run on
them,
your phone.
but you've got to have loads of them, aren't you?
Well, you can buy a pair of them for $30 on AliExpress.
Yeah, and you can
with a little
text each
screen.
other, can't you?
Exactly.
Mate, I've seen them. You just,
Yeah.
as long as you have enough nodes set up along your
So
route
if
or
we'll
where
go out
you
and
are going to
spend
be,
$30 and give one to a mate as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You can communicate, and these nodes look really good. All right, they're pretty basic. They're just a board with a screen, but you've got to solder the screen on yourself, or you might be able to buy them.
You can buy them pretty much built already.
Pretty much built. But if you've got enough of them, you can get onto a network and just text. But what it do is it will send that text through the node to node until it gets to the node that it needs to get to.
Yep.
You just share basically the nodes. It just connects to this one massive mesh network.
And there's a lot of tech like that with ham radio as well, just like very slow propagation where it's very robust protocol. So, you can lose lots of bits of the information and it'll still eventually get through. It might take 20 minutes to send a sort of 2-sentence message, but it will get there eventually,
Exactly.
And I mean, in the UK, you can take your Foundation radio amateur license for 27 quid online, takes half an hour. There's a free course called essexham.co.uk, which will sort of get you through it. And, you can then go and buy a sort of 50 quid DMR radio. And that's another way that we could be keeping in touch when they turn off all the mobiles and pull the plug on the internet. And
this is it, because I've been looking into it. How are we going to communicate after? And
Ian,
I mean, I've checked. Nobody's timed you out. It's probably YouTube. I haven't had no notifications to say any time's out. Sorry, carry on, mate.
Yeah, I mean, for a couple £100, you can get all kitted up to be sort of doing sort of dual band radio. I
Mm.
mean, if you really want to go cheap, you can buy a Bofeng for $30
Yeah,
or
well,
$20.
we've all got. We all
they're
should have a
shite.
Bofeng in our collection.
Yeah, I think everyone should have one of those just for emergencies. I
Yeah.
mean, they cause terrible interference and harmonics, and they aren't strictly legal, but for transmitting that is. But you know, they're good to have for an emergency. And I mean, literally, you can buy one for 20 quid on eBay.
You certainly, yeah. That's where I got mine from.
But I mean, sort of, for the effort it takes to get your foundation license and get legit and operating on a sort of more reliable, less interfering radio is definitely something worth doing at times like this. I mean, we have in this country a kind of set of criteria and stages for emergency events, and all integrated into that at certain levels. They switch off the mobile phone network, right? And it only is for emergency use. And the more escalated an emergency or situation gets, the more they cut off our communication, which seems completely counterintuitive, but that is the plan that they have in place, the sort of civil defense response and all of that kind of thing. So, if the shit did ever really hit the fan and we had some sort of event, we'd find ourselves being pretty screwed in terms of communicating.
Yeah, I think we would be, because the first thing I go would be the communication network, your cell towers, everything would be switched off. We won't be able to ring no one.
Yeah,
that's why they want everyone's
part of the procedure
phone now.
Category 2 emergency or something.
Well, they want everyone's phone, their home telephones. It all comes through fiber. My home phone, if I lose power to my house, I've got no home telephone because it comes through the fiber network, and obviously that needs power to work. So the first thing they ask when they fit fiber to your house, do you have another means of communication? Well, the only other means of communication you got is your mobile phone, isn't it? If they turn the towers off, we're all fucked anyway. We'd be on our CBs 1414 for a copy, won't we?
Everybody needs a plan for.
That's what we should be prepared for.
If something happens.
Yeah, exactly. You look at it. Everything that's being pushed now. Ukraine. We're heading into World War III. And all these storms we're having, these weather warnings, we're getting locked up. But then now it's it's climate lockdowns. That's what you're gonna have. You're having climate lockdowns, aren't you? Everyone last Friday was locked down. It was like, during lockdown 1, 2, and 3, it was like everyone had a day off. Our bin men are working a day behind because no one worked last Friday. All schools were closed, businesses were closed, no buses were running because of this storm. What is it coming to when we close down for just a bit of wind? Mental. It's to scare people. Absolutely. We've got a lot down.
That's all they've got in this country. We've just sort of been leapfrogging from one crisis or scandal to the next. I mean, what's going on now with this Ukraine thing. I mean, half the reason that's being whipped up is because the lockdown narratives and all of that are falling apart, and they want to distract us with, you might die in World War III. Don't worry about a cold.
Well, they're doing it now. Is this whole thing? Last week we had that storm, didn't we? The really bad storm. And I was speaking of Boomer, and then we had a YouTube channel that just suddenly sprang up. Big Jet TV. It was interviewed by every major news network. It went on this morning. He went up like 30,000 subscribers within a few hours, all because of this storm. And he was filming planes. Now today, he was at RAF Connolly, where the tornadoes take off when they get scrambled. So it's a bit weird. Like, he's filming jets like that when they get scrambled. It's like, ain't that quite secretive? Like, when they scramble. It's a bit weird. Is it just getting people used to seeing those type of jets because we don't see tornadoes or F-35s in the skies very often, do we? Especially at low altitude. Is that to get people ready to see them more often flying around because the Ruskies are coming?
I don't know. I think it's more he's just like an aviation channel. He sees an opportunity and thinks, "Oh, I can check that out." And
Well, I've never seen anybody filming from RAF Colony. Is it Colin something or other?
Don't the plane nerds go to the end of the airfields at North Holt and places like that?
I don't know. I don't know.
They do.
It's the first time I've ever seen it.
You got some bugger filming every fucking thing, even if it's paint drawing these days.
Yes.
I would get a convoy, but I can't afford the fuel. I can't. That's, you know what I mean? It's mental. I couldn't afford the fuel to do anything like that. I don't think a lot of people could.
Yeah, they're all forming up in the US at the moment for one.
For the US. State of Union.
Yeah. That's a big problem in the UK is that the people who would want to protest the most about sort of austerity and all of these things are the least able to afford to get it. I mean, the price of rail travel in this country it's cheaper to fly. It's literally most of the time cheaper to fly. If you're going off to Bristol or Exeter or Scotland, you know, Glasgow or something, often it's much cheaper to fly.
Yeah.
And less disgusting as well.
Exactly.
You know.
Hey, I was saying today, when did old Charlie come down with the sea?
Covey.
Yeah.
Well, he has definitely had it. I mean, they've run it all up the flagpole.
Well, wasn't he one of the ones that came down with it before the Queen?
Yeah, I mean, didn't he have it near the start or something?
Well, I thought he had it quite recently. Who's had it recently?
Him.
Right, now, yesterday, he was out visiting his grandchildren at Frogmore House, so... did he have to self-isolate for 10 days? Was it over 10 days? I don't know. But he was obviously bouncing his grandchildren on his knee today. Or yesterday, so I read. But
shudder.
You know.
When was the video taken?
What video?
Of him. You never know when it was taken.
No, it was yesterday. Yesterday, it said, the news, you know, I think it was yesterday. Or today, it said, you know, Prince Charles visited his grandchildren at Frogmore House.
Yeah. But it could have been recorded weeks ago. You never know when all these things happen.
True.
There's all reports in America that she's dead.
Well, mate, I cannot see them releasing it before the Jubilee celebration. I can't, because we're getting a bank holiday for it, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? They're not. I can't see them telling us, even if she is. But I don't think they can keep it under wraps, because she's going to have to come out on the balcony, isn't she, that day? She ain't. How are they going to talk that one down?
June.
Well, she just cancelled some Zoom calls the last couple of days.
Well, they did get old Edinburgh out of the hospital looking quite stiff, didn't he? Because there's no way he was alive in that car, because he looked like a fucking corpse. I think they must have had to break his legs to get him in the car or something like that. I don't know. You know, it's just my opinion, because he didn't look alive.
At Phillips.
Or
Bernie's, if anybody gets a reference.
Oh yeah, Weekend at Bernie's, when they had to stay.
yeah, Weekend at Phillips.
So
exactly.
Yeah, it was a bit. It was all speculation. Though, you know, we got to hear the London Bridge is down or something in it, or fallen. I don't know. We got some strange code word. Why don't we just say the Queen's dead? You know, I mean, you got to ring up. You could just imagine like Boris Johnson getting that telephone call at 3 a.m. What do you mean? What do you mean? London Bridge has fallen. What, into the Thames? That's how it'll be like when he. I mean, what?
Do you remember that time that the Australian president sent his condolences about the Queen Mother dying and she hadn't died yet? This guy I used to know was working at Sky News, right? And he was chatting to his mum who lived in Australia, just having a chat. And apparently in the background, they were running a drill, like a practice run for, or a bit of VT for what they would run when the Queen Mum had died. And it was going on in the background, and he was just chatting to his mum. And he's like, "Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe the Queen Mum's died or whatever." And the next thing they finished the call, she's got onto a local radio station, and gone, "Oh, I think Queen Mum's died." The next thing you know, the Prime Minister's heard it, and he's phoning up the palace, sending his condolences.
He's a twat, isn't he? Absolutely, he's a muppet. Sorry.
Yeah, so it made the papers and everything.
All
I think he
politicians.
kind of lost his job over it as well.
All
The guy who's
politicians.
working at Sky, like called Wayne. I think he actually went on what was it called? That morning show that they used to have on Channel 4. What was that called?
I don't know.
It was kind of quiet. It was in a house, and it was a bit sort of
Oh, the
raucous.
Big Breakfast.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. With Chris Evans in.
That's it.
Yeah. Camden Lock.
Was it in Camden? I thought
Yeah,
they
it's
did it.
Camden Lock.
Right. Oh no, it was Big Brother they shot down at Stratford the first season, wasn't it?
Got to send my assistant in a minute back to the house to make me coffee. House coffee.
Need to train him to be your producer and switch cameras and all that.
You'll have to get a runner.
Yeah, he's the runner. But watch him now get up and just knock that camera. Because as soon as he can't, that's it. He won't get caught in any cameras when he walks past. But you watch him shake this one. You wait. He's down there.
I really think we should have a referendum when the Queen dies as to whether we should continue the monarchy.
That's what Australia's going to do, isn't it? I reckon.
Yeah.
So Boomer said they're gonna.
We only just lost last time. We were nearly a republic in the 80s. It came close.
I mean, Australia's democracy is kind of a little bit of a farce, isn't it?
Yes, but it's going to be interesting with the election coming up because, from what I understand, no one's going to be voting for the Liberals or the Labor Party.
Yeah. But I mean, if it doesn't go the way that old Queenie likes it, they'll get the whatever it is, Solicitor General to go.
See, we can have
they took that out after they used it in 75.
Yeah.
See, we can have the old pomp and ceremony. We can have changing of the guard and all that shit.
We used to be able to come to the Privy
Court.
Court here as well.
Sorry, say that again, Boomer.
Australia used to be able to go right up to the Privy Court here, but they stopped that as well.
Right.
So all those links and all that sort of thing have been cut now in the 70s. Essentially, the one in 75 was a CIA coup.
Yeah, well,
because the Labor Party wasn't going to have nuclear weapons on any ships.
An Anglo-American coup, maybe.
Yes. They didn't like that.
I think similar shenanigans went on during the Scottish referendum myself as well. The idea of an independent Scotland with all those submarine bases up there was something that they just couldn't have happen.
Oh, Faslane, the most secure military base in the country.
Exactly. I mean, there's just so many reasons, but strategically, having all those subs up there, nice and close to sort of nipping across the channel to deal with the Russians,
ain't no problem.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, we're creating the problem. Well, Biden's creating the problem.
Oh, he's a fucking... Sorry, I got to stop swearing. He is a muppet. Really, but the thing is, he said...
He's a gangster.
Well, yeah. I really, really.
He's
I'm
a senior
I'm
gangster in
worried.
criminal
You know,
organisation, and he's like Bernie. Yeah, you know.
if Putin does go in, and protect these provinces and that, then it says the West. Oh, he's attacking! It's attacking! Quick! And then Biden to go in, then we have to go in, and then all the shit show's going to start, isn't it? It's like fuck me. And
No,
we
it's
all
pure
got to be
insanity.
worried then, really, because it's all going to kick off and it's all going to get blown out of proportion. It's just set for this little place that don't really
Well, if
exist.
America can possibly do
It doesn't
that,
really exist anyway.
they we've got the biggest economy on earth, spending more than half their federal budget every year on arms and war, and have leapfrogged from one thing where they, portray themselves as the saviors of freedom, etc., and bomb places like Somalia, Libya, Syria, etc., Iraq, into the fucking Stone Age. Depleted uranium wastelands of deformed children.
Exactly.
They build like we were saying earlier on, their bases all over the world. And they sit there going, "Oh, they're the bad guy," and they're like the bully in the playground with the biggest knife, basically.
Yep. That's it. They are.
What are we to do about these guys? They've got nukes dotted all over the world. What are Russia to do about them? Just let the Ukraine descend into a right-wing fascist sort of craziness? Because it's like the people they're defending over in the Ukraine are kind of a bit dodgy. Some of them, aren't they?
Some of them. Boomer knows like the state. I think is it East? West Ukraine is like the ones that have the SS and everything. They are proper really fucked up. And we actually went and met our UK commanders. Actually met the division of the Home Guard, which is practically SS. So they can bolster their defenses, and we're actually meeting with these people. I'm thinking, what I mean? What deal is being done? Auschwitz and all that. Remember all that? I'm thinking,
well, look in Syria. They're financing Al Qaeda and all that to attack the Syrians.
Exactly. I watched this funny comedian yesterday, sort of like a cross between Frank Sinatra and Hitler. Here we go. Frank Sinatra.
Fucking hell.
I'll put his I'll put the link to it in the chat.
Here comes my coffee. That was quick, actually. That was a. Oh, he's on camera. No, he's not. Oh, he shit himself then. He absolutely shit himself because I said he was on camera. And he just went back and dropped all the coffee. Right. If you just give me my coffee, you'll be all right, and you can go back in your place. Go back in your place. It's like, get back in your box. No. He's really paranoid about coming on camera. Everyone's seen Dan before, haven't they? Everyone's seen Dan and they know who Dan is.
I need glasses badly.
Why? Because you can't see the chat.
Yeah.
You're bad as me.
I think one of the big things is that I spent nearly 2 years in front of my computer editing that film most of the time.
That's no good, is it, really?
And then I've spent all this time on lockdown exactly this far away from a screen.
I think we all have.
And I think we're going to have a lot of people with this sort of kind of fixed, focus issue. We're going to have to sort of learn to do close and far exercises or something.
Yeah, I'm like that now. I just can't take them off. I can't. That's just a blur. And even putting them on ain't much better. Because they're so. I need a new pair. I didn't know. Oh, I was watching a documentary about that today, actually, about all the Ripper Savile, who was the Chief Justice at the same time, and it's now something to do with the Chief Justice. Now, I don't know. It just goes mind-boggling on that front. What's this one? Also, half of Ukraine is now Russia by choice. They have left the West. That's about right. Yeah.
Those goddamn
I don't
commies
think
engaging in non-Western democracy and not buying our Levi's.
the problem is not many people realize the connection between the Ukrainians and the Russians. It's same people.
Which ring are you on about?
What? Who, me?
Rolf Harris used to kiss his ring every time they met.
Oh, the Pope. No. Who's
Is he
ring?
talking about Jimmy Savile or the Prince or whatever? I don't know.
I think he might be talking about Savile. Was Dan the daft bugger who helped T-Fuck at the Bristol riot? Yeah, Dan was that. What Dan was? Yeah, that was Dan. We've taught him well since.
All right, time to put the kettle on.
He's your new PA.
He's my PA, Dan is. He's just made me a beautiful brew. Nice one. He said he couldn't hear it because I turned his earpods. There you go. He said he's giving me the thumbs up now. He's giving me, oh, it's all okay. It's okay. We're all good. Even though he's watching about 5 minutes behind on on his phone is weird. I remember that. I remember when he used, I tell you what, Rolf's Cartoon Club. Now, when I was at junior school, that was on, and schools used to, a class from some schools got chosen to go onto Rolf's Cartoon Club. Yeah, Rolf's Cartoon Club. That was quite funny, actually. Right, then let's have a look at some news. Right, what I got sent today, we can have a look at some news.
I'll send you a news flash in the private chat.
Of a news flash in the private chat. I'll put a banner up. I'll banner it now. Yeah, show.
So the two independent regions have asked for now help from the Russians and peacekeepers officially.
I think Dan's trying to find a plug. Hang on. Just had to tell him what plug he could use before he blows up the shed. He's all right now. Right. I'm going to look for some new, what's that is. I got to find some what I was going to play. Ooh. Oh, yeah. I think we might play this. All right, because it's pretty good. I think it's good. Because it'll make you all think. Is it Boomer sent me earlier? Might as well. I got to open it first. Would help. Right. Oh, shite. Always does that. Don't wait. There we go. I'm gonna have to get do the music again so everyone could hear it. Everyone hear my phone buzzing. Right, we got it. I don't know if everyone. I'm gonna full screen it. Take that off, and then we can play it.
See you, Sophie. Can we have Bush making that light? I haven't seen that light on field. 27, 28.
Pork chocolate burgers and one regular. Thanks.
Big puppy moving into position now. What a sight. Take all you measure in 9 meters tall, making with the large of the old guard. Arms today with a heavy sheet on. Don't think any of those. Alright, the big kid got one plane crab. Car ready to deliver Chuck on Highway 12. Now it's famous, they go.
Thank you.
That's what the old guard were made for, so let's see how this plays out.
So yeah, CGI everywhere.
That's why live streaming is now very important.
It's the way forward. And this is why we need to take it forward properly. And we're going to take it forward properly. It is the only news that you can really trust now as it happens, because you just watched that video, CGI everywhere. It can be put in, CGI can be added live as well, all right? All you need is a computer, and you can bring it, see any CGI live. You can look on YouTube how it's done. So it is only the way forward, live. But it
From
needs
independence.
From independence, but it means,
and also multiple independents at the same place live streaming.
Yep. This is what we're thinking about anyway. Well, boomers, you know, we're all knocking ideas around. It has to be, if people want to become a part of it, you know, there is some rules, because we are going to look at taking on the big people properly, and we want to be taken seriously. We're not going to be. We don't want to be a joke. You know, we want to give fair coverage. So, you know, I've got to drop some of my traits. You know, we want proper independent journalists, you know, who are unopinionated, who are just stand there with a camera and shoot it as it happens. So this is the way we're looking at it anyway.
I think we definitely need a live show at each election as well.
Yeah.
Yes, most definitely.
I mean, what I'm doing in my spare room, is trying to sort of get it as a kind of flexible space that can be used for podcasty type things for 4 people. So, like, when there is something happening in London, you know, maybe sort of treat it, you know, like proper journalism on the ground, but do sort of more opinion editorial stuff afterwards. On the day, in the evening, in the studio, have a little get together. And do something like that.
What we really need, isn't it, really, because it's to build a team of people that are multi-talented, but they specialize in a field. You know, good at editing, you're good at, you know, your technical stuff. But if you're just a good all-rounder, you know, it's all good. But we want independence from everywhere. And, you know,
definitely something worthwhile aiming for. I mean, I've been chipping away at it, you know, buying little bits on eBay and living on noodles for a bit, that sort of thing, and trying to build up sort of something that can facilitate that sort of thing.
Well, we can link together.
Mm.
Easy.
I mean, if something decent and worthwhile happens, say in London or Bristol or whatever, we could pool our resources and have, sort of kind of everyone tie clipped up and multi-camera mixes, closes and wides and the whole bit going on. Yeah, it could look really pro.
And that's what it needs. You're looking at feeding it to one centralized location, and
But I mean, with all that sort of happened during lockdown and all of these kind of, everyone running around trying to make, thinking they're the savior, they're going to run the workshop, or they've got the angle on the common law, or fucking
there's so many of that,
I think that, unfortunately, that's a kind of, a symptom of the sort of divide and rule kind of skull boiling environment that we've lived in particularly England for such a long time. And we need, before we start running around doing all of these sort of things, we need to kind of really, really wrap our heads around a bit more critical thought, a little less herd mentality, and realizing primarily that everything is geared to divide us and atomize us in some way or other. We've always got someone to blame, except the fuckers who are, making the policy and controlling the purse strings. We always find in England a way to turn on, the strikers because they are inconsiderate or whatever. But we're being told this by billionaire media, you know what I mean? And that's where we really, really need to do a lot of work on our society, is to understand that we've just been absolutely skull-fucked for generations. We've been robbed of our critical thought, and we just, like Pavlovian rats, turn on the other. You're a Remainer, you're a Brexiter, you're a lockdowner, anti-vaxxer. We just, without, it takes a matter of days to entrench division in this country and for it to set. And we really need to deal with that before we can do any of this other shit, really, because it's just lots of little Piers Corbyn circuses running around in circles achieving nothing.
Yes, I just fed up a commenting about them because it's just the same shit.
Well, I mean,
going
I'm
around,
not specifically saying them, but it's like we seem to have a goldfish bowl memory in this country, and we're just driven by the next news narrative, which is carefully fed to us by, the Behavioral Insights Unit in the most part, or the billionaire media. We have a completely curated reality in this country, and they always find a way to blame the poorest, the most vulnerable, and it's all okay, nothing to see here. I mean, the media's been tied up for the last, it feels like fucking forever now, with the Partygate thing. Now, it's like, I mean, besides it showing Boris Johnson for the just disingenuous piece of crap that he is, in one breath he'll apologize, in the other breath go, well, but I couldn't possibly make a moral judgment on that I've just apologized for, because we have to wait for a report. And as soon as he gets out of Parliament that day, he's going around blustering to everyone he plans to stay in power until 29 or something ridiculous. Really? So the man is completely disingenuous,
delusional,
and delusional. I mean, he's just got away with it all of his life. He should have been taken out of public life when he was mayor. Spending 25 million quid on the plans for a bridge which was a national heritage site, and they knew from the outset that there would never be planning permission.
Well, they're not being interviewed, are they?
That's one thing, but I mean, that should have taken him out in any civilized, lawful society, really.
Well, any decent person would have resigned, wouldn't they?
Yeah, exactly.
He would have bowed out. He
blusters his way through everything. He just doesn't turn up to a sort of, an inquiry at the Assembly Hall, and well, what are you going to do? Is it move on to the next thing?
I saw him today. Someone was about to ask him a question. He just walked off in Parliament.
But aren't they been given all the evidence? I know before you get interviewed,
But
right?
I mean, the point I was actually going to make is that, you know, after all of this mileage and exhausting kind of bombardment with the media over this issue, what would actually happen to them? You know, they'll get a fixed penalty notice for breaking the lockdown rules that are kind of dubious and possibly unlawful anyway. I mean,
yeah, but they would get them refunded anyway because I'm sure my nephew told me today
that whilst we're kind of shitting the bed all over the place over a few beers in the garden, which is contemptuous,
that's all it is,
and deserves, you know, them to just resign in shame.
Yes.
The fact is that it's just been a massive kind of storm in the teacup when, you know, the 16 billion loans that are dodgy, you know, there's PPE by the tens of billions that's dodgy.
People have forgotten that, mate. It's like you said, it's the goldfish. It is the goldfish mentality, like you said. People have forgotten about it. Really,
the bed over a few drinks in the
for
back
a
garden.
few drinks in the back garden. I understand all these people that couldn't have Christmas and lost their loved ones and shit like that. But in the bigger picture of the things that, you know, what's going to happen?
I mean,
it's going to get fun like everyone else did.
But there's no consequence of them just being nefarious, completely unempathic, sociopathic, self-serving bastards. They'll get a fixed penalty notice for that.
Yeah.
But because we've spent all our energy and outrage and disgust on this, there's, you know, little energy left to sort of go over what they've put out as bad news on a bad news day before they're moving on to the next bloody thing. And I mean, that's how it seems to me. I'm kind of a bit of an Aspie spectrum person, and I'm very pattern spotty. And since Theresa May, you know, it's just like 1 week after the next, Piri Patel or Gove or someone or other, you know, it comes out on a Friday, everyone shits the bed over the weekend, and Monday it's on to the next thing, you know. We just never have time to critically assess, as, you know, society, this stuff. And we're being fed shit by the likes of the Guardian and the Independent. There's no analysis. It's just like more of the same. Like Starmer's Labour, you know, I mean, this guy sits there clutching his pearls in his outrage, asking for more lockdowns, more this, more that, as if it forms some sort of opposition, whilst he's bankrupt the Labour Party. I mean, and the media go along with that as well. We're just so our reality is curated until we get some critical thought and focus everything that we approach through. They're trying to divide us, then we can't move forward, really. I don't think. It'll just be the same old people getting woke, people going into the common law thing, and, you know, all of that sort of circular sort of levels people go through going down the rabbit hole.
Certainly
really,
are. I am.
It's really simple. And you look at it with the way it's happened over the last sort of 20 years as well. The last block was the students, and they dealt with them, lots of punitive student loans and conditionalizing everything. So you have to really slot in to be a student now. So that stopped any dissent from them. And the last block was all the gays and the lesbians and all of that. And the last 5 years of all this turf and trans weirdness has kind of atomized the last kind of cohesive sort of social block that used to kind of dissent and hold power to account. And everything else, like charities like Mind and Cancer UK, they've gone from sort of campaigning organizations that act on behalf of the public to hold power to account into service providers. Literally, you know, Mind sending people to the DWP to sort of on secondment to kind of figure out, you know, sexual-free therapy in the fucking job centre setting. You know, that is supposed to be a mental health charity, you know, and we've been nudged our thinking of what's acceptable, 0-hour contracts, you know, supposed once upon a time respected charity organizations are now just service providers. And they're, you know, we've been conned into thinking that due to commercial interest that public money can be spent on things and subject to non-disclosure agreements because it's being provided by a commercial company, well, then we should do it ourselves, or they should be transparent about the dealings they're doing. If they don't want to do it, then fuck off. We'll spend our money elsewhere. But we've been conned into thinking all of this kind of secrecy and commercialization of the public purse is legitimate, and it's absolutely not. As the state of the NHS and our education proves without any shadow of a doubt. And that's another area of our kind of divide and rule. Whilst we've been denied care, the management of the NHS has infantilized the people inside the NHS. They've got rid of what they call the legacy skill sets, you know, the kind of righteous, critical thinking consultants that will have none of that nonsense here types, you know, got rid of them for complying people. And they've spent the last 10 years at an accelerating rate othering the public in the minds of people inside the NHS, you know, like the propaganda posters inside hospitals, you know, how staff are
feeling threatened by the public. Whoa, let's cry for the NHS staff, superheroes, fucking hell, making them martyrs and all that. Yeah, it's all bollocks.
I'm disgusted that the sort of psychology departments and the you know, the head shrink parts of the NHS haven't kind of stood up and pointed out. But trouble is, they were one of the first to, you know, sell out basically and throw the people they serve under the bus.
Yep.
Mental health care in the UK is criminally perverse and negligent and a huge confidence trick that those within the organizations go along with. It's really disgusting. Really disgusting. It brings shame on our nation and shame on the mental health care profession.
But why is it though?
They're fucking scumbags, man.
Well, it's not, because you know, you look at it, anybody without you know, cancer, it's like I can look at it from a different aspect, because I ring up my cancer nurse and I say I'm depressed, and I'll have an appointment with the Macmillan mental health. You know what I mean? Or I want to go and have a dental appointment. I ring up my oncologist. I want a dental appointment. They send me to the dental hospital and I get an appointment straight away. There's not a problem. But as a, you know, I don't know why.
The difference is, right, is that in the pursuit of helping people with mental health care, it's not very profitable. It's quite intensive. Whereas cancer treatments, chemo and all of that is still top end, you know, like leasing lots of machines and providing £1,000 a month or £1,000 a week or £1,000 a fucking day type treatments. That, you know, we have that was spoke that I think, I can't remember whether it's NHS England or Department of Health, but they took on a guy who was supposed to be you know, like the czar to make sure that we got good value for money. And the guy's the ex-sales manager of Sanofi for the UK. You know, so, you know, we've got this situation where the whole thing's riddled with, you know, poachers turned gamekeeper type thing. And, you know, cancer treatment is very profitable for these companies.
Of course it is.
Whereas mental health care doesn't get them jack shit.
No. And it costs a lot of money, because what's a few rounds of CBT, you know, cognitive therapy was, you know,
behavioral therapy is mostly bullshit anyway. I mean, it's become bullshit because the way that they've tried to sell it as a one-size-fits-all treatment devalues the whole thing, basically. You know, offering someone who's kind of developed a behavioral problem like compulsive hand washing or something like that, it's quite simple and easy to isolate. In every other way they've had a decent life or whatever. Cool, CBT might be an option. But to offer that to someone who's, you know, was abused as a child all the way through their childhood and sold off into prostitution or whatever. You know, it's not really going to cut the mustard.
No.
And then blaming those people, you know, it's kind of gaslighting them. I mean, that is the worst part of the mental health care, is that they paint this picture that there is provision there, and you can wait for years and years and years. And as time goes on, they actually start to interact with you in a slightly more hostile and bitter way, because they know they're fucking lying. They know they're letting someone's best years just wither away because nothing's going to happen. And they're sort of like, well, we'll do something, or we'll refer you back to GP and see if you can refer you back because the rules have changed again.
Yeah, but your GP, well, like you said, well, none of us have a GP anymore. You know,
well,
it's
we're
all centralized. Yeah, well, it is, because we all have a GP, i.e., on our record.
Personally,
well, go on.
I haven't had one since 2013. My GP, who I'd had for probably the previous 8 years or something, she left because she'd had enough. And since then, I have seen for 10 years, whilst dealing with PTSD, pancreatitis, gallbladder stuff, all of that, a still untreated neck injury, locums, fire and forget, 10 minutes, never see him again, one after the other, whilst my surgery and others surrounding me have all been kind of in special measures, basically. And they've all now been brought up by that American company.
Yeah. But the way I see it, right, you know, especially within our trust and our GP practice, is I have a GP, okay, which is obviously, if I want to see that GP, I would have to ring up the reception and book an appointment. It might be for a week, 10 days.
Reception Nazis.
Well, this is, but, you know, this easy to get, you know, past them. And you just say, I'll tell my doctor. You know, that's it. That's how you get past them. You don't have to tell them shit. I just want to see a doctor, because all they want to do is to see if you can go to a nurse rather than see a doctor. So that's it. If you want to see your own doctor, it's 10 days. But I can ring up the surgery at 8:30 in the morning. Yeah, and get an appointment with a doctor that day. Not if my doctor is on, you know, what they call taking the emergency appointments of that day, because they keep so many appointments for the day. If he's working that, I get to see my doctor. If not, I will get to see a doctor, but they all discuss their patients in their coffee room on coffee break. So they have a broad outline of what medical conditions the patients have, but everything else is on computer, or, you know, the amount of times I walked out there with a pamphlet.
Clusterfuck,
you know,
mate.
It is. You walk out there, you know, 9 times out of 10, they look on a computer to see what medication they can give you. And 9 times out of 10, you walk out there with an A4 bit of paper, you know, because they look it up.
There's a great deal of inaccuracy in people's care at this point as well. It's all become so fragmented that even if you've been in the same surgery for years, it's just such a mess that stuff's getting you know, mixed up, lost, not put in at all.
You've got these surgeries now, haven't you? One-stop shop for everything. You know, they got acupuncturists. You know, you got everything. You go in the doctor's surgery now. Like, you've got these big buildings that got pharmacies in there.
Like,
you know,
PC World, where they fill it up with rows of fucking cables and CD cases, and there's no actual fucking PCs in there.
No, you just walk in there and, like, you go to the doctor's, like, oh, I'll just send that to the pharmacy for you. You know what I mean? There's no physical paperwork. Just send your medication, and
that
the pharmacy's got that.
Scam of all, the blood, right? They all used to take it in surgery, right? It's now all run by private companies, and they've got this thing where it's 6 months and it's useless, right? So in this day and age, you go to your GP, you get an appointment, you get a follow-up, blah, blah, blah. It can easily take 6 months before it gets to anywhere close to that blood actually being used for anything. So, you know, you get passed on to the consultant, your blood work's out of date, we've got to get you another one. My local hospital, all day long, it's got one of those little ticket things, and it's just like packed all day long with people going through.
I go to the
120 quid a pop for that, and most of them are just thrown away because the system's so backed up, that they don't actually become relevant. And, you know, these companies are just absolutely smashing the granny out of it when
Hey,
when it could
look.
easily be done by a GP in the surgery.
Look, this is mental. I worked myself up earlier because like I'm going through, it's my 6 monthly checkups and all my scans and all shit like that. I've had, to see if the big C's come back or not. And it's like I go there. I said, can I have a telephone appointment on Friday? Oh no, the oncologist wants to see you. So my ass just dropped
that
out.
doesn't sound great, does it?
No, my ass dropped out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until my oncologist nurse rang me back, because this is mental, mate. I just email her, and she's on the phone within 10 minutes. So I can't really fault, that sort of care, because, but they're making money somewhere, aren't they? So I'm on
absolutely. And
I'm
the
on this
reason
trial, right?
It's like frustrating because that is all being provided through private companies. Those are the bits that are going to survive. And you get people going, well, yeah, I had great treatment through the NHS. But it's very, very, very narrow areas that, are profitable and that are going to survive, whilst lots of people are left just to fucking wither, basically. So you've got like a very specific point of view. There could be a number of factors. You're lucky in the area, maybe the timing of development infrastructure was such that, you were there at the right time, blah, blah, blah. And also that fact that cancer care for the providers that are being paid by the NHS, it's very profitable for them.
Mate, I'm telling you, my cancer care is better than any other cancer patient, because the normal care is for cancer. You would get your yearly scan, and then your blood works and things like that, and then a checkup
That's disgusting.
every year.
It shouldn't be like that.
Well, this is what I'm led to believe.
Undermined our system, so that people big up these, what were once charities, and are now private service providers, contractors. And I mean, a lot of early work in heart transplant and cancer treatment and stuff was developed in English hospitals on the back of, I mean, it's like the old sort of Xerox PARC story and Microsoft and Apple. We built up the NHS, we developed a lot of stuff, and it's just been sort of bone picked dry of all the kind of knowledge and resources, and we're now having to rent it back, and the money that we could have been spending on an existing resource that belongs to us to develop it further is completely taken away from us. And all of these I mean, the sort of kind of the last thing that they're working on now, right, is pathology, autopsy, stuff like that. So they're going to build these super hubs. So like all of the hospitals in Southeast around me are going to basically lose their pathology labs, and they're going to privatize it out. Some company is going to build this super pathology lab. So, that in itself is going to introduce delay to every single hospital in itself, but it's more efficient apparently. And these deals that they're doing at the moment are going to tie up these services for, 10, 20, possibly 25 years, by which time any legacy infrastructure, knowledge, or any aspect that would allow us to run it as a public service is gone. So, we're selling our souls basically in doing this, paying over the odds for it, going on these kind of, I mean, when we were doing this network thing of the primary care thing, which has been bought directly, copy and pasted from United Health's business plan by Simon Stevens, the ex-director of global development for America's largest health insurer, who has been running NHS England for the last 8 years. Sorry, I kind of digressed there for a second.
No, it's all right, mate. I was just looking at something. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an American system now. It's got the NHS badge on it. It's a contracting thing. And, the pathology, as I said, and the autopsies and stuff like that are the last things to go. And it's all a facade now. Even now, when we have the likes of the Guardian and the Independent still running sort of, oh, is it a conspiracy theory that the NHS is being privatized? I mean, these people are selling us right down the river. You know, it's already gone. It's already gone. You know, I mean, the unions have been the worst. You know, I mean, you've got the nurses union at the moment kicking up a big fuss, but where have they been? You know, they've been doing nothing but saying, oh, you know, you've got to take it. It's the best we can get, blah, blah, blah. You know, I mean, it's, they come out the last possible minute to sort of do too little too late, and it's because suddenly everyone's noticing them. And you know, it's the same as with all of the charities and places like Mind and Cancer UK. It's all been colonized by these Blairite neoliberal globalists, along with the you know, the going forward agendas that have been put in place. Yeah, selling us all down the river.
Yes. I was just I don't know if Mr. Boomer is still there.
Yeah. It's just I can't comment on that.
Why did all those dead fish washed up? All the dead fish.
Chile.
Yeah,
They don't know why.
it's a bit weird.
Yeah, everything's been colonized, and
Probably to do with the magnetic field.
you know,
Magnetic field. Yeah.
so we haven't had any representation. I mean, the kind of representation that the working people have had, not wanting to sound sort of too Citizen Smith or anything, are people like Keir Starmer. You know, they're bourgeoisie middle class types, basically, who like the status quo. And they've sat there taking their top union boss salaries, keeping stum, going to the same, you know, House of Lord events and cocktail parties and stuff.
Like they always do. Buy beer at the Min. Have a good day at work.
The worst is the BMA. They really are the absolute, just most duplicitous organisation.
I think it's just all a smoke screen to take our mind off of what's really happening. Let's all be worried because we're all going to war anyway, aren't we? Like they say, World War III's coming.
I don't know. I mean, I think that, you know, if America are stupid enough to do that, then yeah, you know, I mean, they've started many horrible wars over, you know, more or less my entire adult lifetime. Had the Falklands as a teenager,
Yeah,
and then early 90s straight into Iraqi wars, and it's been one fucking thing threatening to end the world after another, and it's all emanating from America.
Well, you look at it, you know, it's like I always thought Putin was a bad man, and you know, it's like I spoke to Boomer the other day, and I laughed. I said, "Well, you know, it was like we had Gorbachev and then Putin." He said, "Well, what about what was the name of the guy?" I
Wilson.
said, Yeltsin.
Yeah.
And I went, who?
Boris.
I said, where the fuck was I in the 90s then?
He was sort of the middle one, wasn't he? They had a little coup under him, didn't they? With the tanks in Red Square and all of that.
Yeah, he's the one that.
I mean, he was an absolute fucking hopeless drunk. He was kind of.
Yeah, that's what you said, Puma. He was drunk.
Yeah, but good for the West.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was sort of shooed in there by the West and bigged up by the West. There's something of him with, is it Bush? And he's wearing a cowboy hat out in Texas. Pissed us apart.
Yeah, so I was like, well, what was I during the night?
No, I mean,
you must have been that important then, really. It's like
the geopolitical reality is that Russia is a huge country with a very diverse topology, you know, kind of, you know, they've got kind of plains for agriculture and they've got all sorts of different stuff, you know, the oil, the gas. They are our local America, right? If they were allowed to develop, they are a threat to America purely from the capitalist point of view. We're right next to Russia. Just imagine if Russia
trade deals
was kind of, you know, grew like America did in the 50s. If it had come out of the falling of the Berlin Wall and been allowed to develop, right? and there hadn't been this constant sort of dragging back at their shirt tail by America, you know, America would be looking insignificant, and we would be like, well, fuck America, we can buy good jeans in Russia.
Good jeans in Russia, exactly.
They haven't got everything sloshed in Monsanto bloody genetic modification juice or whatever, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, this is all about America, you know, they're kind of maintaining dominance, etc., etc. And you know,
keeping their
they're
empire
quite
going.
happy to start World War
exactly
III
keeping
over
the
it.
empire keeping their empire going, isn't it?
Exactly, and it's like this isn't happening on the borders of Mexico. I'm sure they'd be far more reticent if, you know, the sort of glow point of World War III, as it were, was going to be, you know, south of Texas rather than right in between France, Germany, and the rest of Eastern Europe. You know,
They think they can contain it to Europe.
Well,
A war.
Bully for them. You know, we're sitting here as nuclear crisps in, you know, what
we're just waiting.
Fine wine producing country. You know, nice.
Don't worry, it'll be
holidays
over in a
and all
matter of
that.
minutes. Don't worry about it.
And that deranged, senile old lunatic, you know, it's no big loss to them. I mean, obviously, if that happened, then Putin would have to retaliate, and I would hope the fucker would. You know what I mean?
He would he? He wouldn't. Mate, I'm telling you, right? It's not going to be him. It's not.
The narrative in the news is complete bullshit, right? You know,
we know that.
You know, it's a country that is a powerful country, sees its neighbors squabbling, more likely than not egged on by CIA operations, etc. You know, and that's the reality of it. The narrative in the news of Putin's about to start World War III, it's the guys with the nukes on the other side of the world saying this repeatedly until we accept it, you know. It's horseshit, absolute horseshit, and it's all about maintaining the US imperial hegemony and, you know, buying their oil and not taking Nord Stream and all of that shit. And I just pray that they aren't that fucking greedy that they're willing to burn us to a crisp to prove their point.
This is Biden we're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, if like Trump said, it wouldn't have even have happened if he was in office. This wouldn't be happening now, and I think we would have been on better terms. And I think we're a lot way forward. You know, look at South Korea and everything else like that. You know
God, another distraction they love to rattle up every so often. I mean, we live in a world where we are curated this knife edge of, you know, you might fucking die tomorrow. We've got a bunch of lunatics with the fingers on the button, and, you know, what else can we do if we're provoked? Kind of narratives that week after week, year after year, we're presented with. And, you know, the reality is that all of this money that they've created, all of this trauma that we've been through, uncertainty that we've been through, decimation of the lower orders of our financial fabric of society, yet all this billionaire's wealth has gone up by roughly the same as we've been bent over for.
We were talking, me and Boomer were talking earlier, if all the Russian billionaires, you know, pulled out all their money out of the UK, what would happen? You know,
we'd be fucked.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I mean, yeah.
Pulled out all their business out of the UK.
We have, you know, I mean, I could go on about this all day, you know, in terms of our kind of, because we've monetized our universities and completely sold all the bits of R&D off from all of those and all of our kind of government agencies. We've got nothing left. We've got fuck all left except financial services and providing questionable banking services. You know, I can't remember what the exact figure is of the economy that is banking now, but it's 10% or 12%, and it should be like 3 or something.
I thought it was around 30, the financial services.
It might be. It's a long time since I looked into the figures, but it's
huge,
massively inflated. you know. And the other thing about this country that has stagnated it, right, is in places, say, like Germany, they have a lot more kind of smaller banks, right?
Yes.
And, you know, the way that the financial, you know, money is basically issued through debt, right? And so in Germany, you have small businesses that go for loans, engineering firms, building firms, whatever it may be, and they get loans for that. But in the UK, they're very focused on housing, yeah, and there's been all sorts of intervention by the government where we should have had a couple of maybe 2 or 3 price adjustments by now. And we've had these kind of like bright young thing, middle class, starter home, fucking bailout things going on, which has, you know, propped up the housing market. And we have banks that only want to issue money against assets like property. So that has, in effect, meant that the issuance of money in the UK has gone on fucking buying houses and little else.
Just checking.
Except when it comes to obviously the international finance and all the kind of share trading, derivative swapping, gaming the forex, gaming the price of gold, and all of that sort of scammy day-to-day stuff that goes on.
The casino banking.
That's what's you know, and when they're moving around these huge sums of money where, you know, they might pull a scam on any day on the forex or whatever it may be, and they're moving sort of billions, possibly into trillions of pounds, but they're only making 0.01% or 2-3% or whatever it may be. Those, you know, represent huge amounts of money. But when you look at the actual turnover of the UK, then, you know, you've got these kind of huge sums being added to it. But really all it is a numbers game of rinsing out loose change out of it, really. And I mean, the actual real share market is dwarfed by all of these derivatives and swaps and shorting that's going on. I mean, it's just a suicide vest waiting to go pop.
Well, the UK's debt now is 94.5 or something percent of GDP.
Right, I think it was higher at one point.
Back in 1 minute.
You know, they said today, maybe they're lying. Was it 3 point something trillion?
The cost of living indicators and all of those kind of things that they use, you know, completely gamed. You know, I mean, they put sort of like Apple iTunes apps in the basket, which are fucking, you know, and a lot of them are like 99p purchases, aren't they, to sort of get you in. How does that represent the cost of living? You know, a bloody app.
Yeah, it should be just food and basics like that.
Yeah, I mean, once upon a time it was, you know, but
well, they couldn't hide the inflation then.
Exactly. I mean, you know, they just pull all the strokes and move it around. You know, all of the independence of the civil service and all of the aspects of running things like financial services authority and all of those things, it's all been just the same trick has been done to everything. The unions, the charities, these bodies, and it's all these Blairite globalist agenda types in there. Everywhere you look, every stone you turn. But people just don't quite grasp it, I don't think. Or if they do, they just feel too hopeless to know what to do about it.
I think most people are just low information individuals.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, we've got sort of, you know, it going viral on YouTube where old Klaus Schwab is boasting of his control over sovereign cabinets. And that doesn't, you know, get anything moving. It's just kind of mind-boggling, really. You've got him shutting down Ottawa whilst going on television and condemning the totalitarianism in the Ukraine.
Yeah,
when they've literally shut down the Ottawa Parliament and put up riot fencing around it for a bunch of few truckers who were heroes a few months back because they were keeping the country moving. I mean, how skullfucky is that?
Yeah, but how can they seize their assets?
Well, I mean, we live in a digital age where, you know, the method to do it is fairly straightforward. It's the ethics and the ring fencing and things like fucking rule of law that protect us normally that should stop this sort of thing. You know, some puffed up bloody coiffeur twat who's such a frigging narcissist to think that just because his dad was president, he can be president. I mean,
did you know the Trudeau Foundation actually owns the patent to the lipids using in all these RMNA vaccines? They've made $500 billion or something in the last.
yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Listen, all of these globalist young leader traitor agents have all got some little bit of skin in the game, or their relatives have. There was that whole bunch of scandal over in Holland, wasn't there, about ministers with connections to all of this stuff, you know? I mean, yeah, they're all a bunch of crooks. All a bunch of crooks. We've been, you know, with the best intentions, I think, people set about after the Second World War to do things like the UN, but unfortunately, from the outset, it was all captured pretty much, and we've been sold all of these Emperor's New Clothes things where it's all virtuous to comply and no one wants the planet to end and all of these things, but it's all being used to completely manipulate us.
Yep.
You know, they fly around in their jets telling us we have to have less, whilst their wealth continues to grow at the same rate as we're fleeced, and year after year, decade after decade, we're expected to take it on the chin. You know, and if we don't, the planet will end, or it'll be World War III.
I put some on the screen, but obviously we can't really talk about it. But I'll just let people read it. There's obviously more evidence of was tinkered with in a lab.
Aren't the rules that if it's in the mainstream media, it's okay?
Yeah, but you got to go through the whole strike first and then say it was in the mainstream, so you get the strike before. You know what I mean? So I'd rather not.
I mean, all of these narratives are, I think, just more ingredients in the pot to cause confusion on the part of the public. You know, all of a sudden, 2 years in, they discover something that Moderna had whatever years before.
Yep.
It's like, well, why is that coming up now? You know, all of these things are just like, I mean, there was that BBC documentary, wasn't there, where this guy was sort of like jizzing his pants over how excited he was that they'd inserted a certain immune deficiency bit of DNA into this thing. Yeah, and I mean, we just do not understand DNA. I mean, we've just been sort of calling a whole proportion of it junk DNA for the last couple of decades, and then it's like, oh, well, maybe it does do something. You know, when there is that uncertainty still, to kind of engage in this global level of experimentation is something that should see people facing Nuremberg type trials. Absolutely, no doubt about it. It's a big scam.
Yes.
You know, the people that are making the most money out of this are the people who coincidentally have also paid some of the largest criminal fines ever. You know, it kind of, the cognitive dissonance going on. I mean, I don't know if it is. It's just the way that the media sort of constantly sort of projects this narrative at us, and I guess you sort of can find yourself assuming that that's what other people think, I guess.
talk about something different now, so we can keep it varied. Snow is fallen in Fijian province. First time in over a decade. You know, right, Boomer? Bit weird weather places are having.
Yes, yes, and in Tasmania it's summer. It's snowing. The
Yep.
planet's cooling.
I got pictures of
It
that
has
as
been
well.
for
I
a couple of
believe,
years, a few years. All the ice is
Well,
growing. It's getting colder everywhere.
there's kind of sun cycles, aren't there, where, you know,
Yeah, we're about to go in the grand minimum.
Monda minimum and all of that.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean,
I got Tasmania.
It's really interesting actually, because in studying amateur radio stuff, a lot of the sites actually have you know, some of these satellite cameras of the sun, and you know, the solar reports on a lot of amateur radio sites, because it has such a huge impact on our planet. Was it 1,000 times the mass of Earth, the sun?
I don't know.
Something
Boomer
like
knows
that.
more about it. I'm only just starting to learn about it.
I always
Really.
forget my orders of magnitude on that one, but I'm pretty sure it's 1,000 times the mass of Earth.
I'll be back in 2 minutes. The van's got away, so I got to go watch the Wi-Fi. So talk amongst yourself for 2 minutes, guys. I will be back.
Speaking of ham radio, I saw today is this guy, British engineer. He thinks he's tracked that MH370 plane from Malaysia all the way to where it crashed by the ham radio signals. As it's going through the atmosphere, it disrupts the signals, and you can actually see where the plane is. And because there was only obviously one plane in that area, makes it much easier. And he reckons he's now pinpointed exactly where it is.
There is a guy at the moment doing a Kickstarter, and it's basically 5 RTL software-defined radios. I'll look up the name of it in a minute, and they all work together, right? And what they do is they monitor. What you can do is you can monitor, say, a television broadcast tower off miles away, and you can monitor, say, a cell phone tower as well, and then the interference that's caused by metal objects in between those 2 points is such that you can actually map it, and it's called passive radar, and it's quite amazing. And yeah, I should imagine it was using a technique like that.
Yeah, it's quite interesting when I was watching today.
I will tell you the name of the gadget that you can order. I'm pretty sure it's on rtl.com. Yeah, it's called Kraken SDR. Yeah, I'll put the link in, and it's got a really interesting video about him, you know, sort of mapping cars and aeroplanes flying through the sky using this passive method. Because if you're using like 5 receivers, and what they're receiving slightly changes because of the interference caused by like an aeroplane 2 or 3 miles away, literally, is enough it's sensitive enough to kind of infer mapping from that. It's mental.
That's what they can do in cities with mobile towers.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can do it with this bit of kit, and it's
5G towers would be better because they'd be much closer together.
It's $299 available for pre-order, and it's basically 5 software-defined radios all sort of working together off a single clock, so they can, you know, coordinate the change in signal. I don't know if it'll. Here we go. So, have they found anything, or have they gone to look at that location?
He said it's in a 300 square kilometer area, which is pretty small, and they can't search unless the Malaysian government says yes. But the theory is when you look at the way it was flying, it was in a holding pattern for 20 minutes just off Malaysia. So they're thinking they were talking to the Malaysian authorities. He was.
Mm.
So, and I don't think Malaysia wants to find it, because if it's the pilot or the plane, massive lawsuits, of course.
Yeah. I think there was some Dutch reporter guy who was kind of chasing after it for a while. I forget what they're called.
Yeah, well, this is just the latest in the last few days. It's quite interesting. If you have a look, if you're into the ham radio.
Mm. Yeah, no, I'd be interested to check it out because I'm interested in the tech that they use to do it. I mean, yeah, the developments in digital radio have been quite incredible.
Yes.
Using these technologies where you kind of sync up reception of, or even small signal broadcasts, send out blips like radar. The stuff you can do, man, it's mind-boggling. And you can, for about $500, although it's very illegal to do so, you can set up a cell tower with a laptop and probably even $300 off if you hunt around on Ali for a cheap one. You can set up a complete cell station.
Well, like a Stingray.
Well, I mean, you can do that. You can make a catcher, or you can run a full, operational node, cell tower.
Because I'm sure they got a Stingray at all these protests in that van that's always following around.
The guys the cops that carry the cameras with the live view in the backpack.
Yeah.
And they don't use the live view backpacks. They've got like kind of these weird looking ones. Mm-hmm. You'll notice that you'll see other cops who aren't filming carrying similar backpacks, and I'm pretty sure that they've got Stingrays in them. You can make a Stingray with a Raspberry Pi and 2 SDRs these days. That'll catch most things. It'll catch the ISMEA or whatever it's called,
ISMI.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of they sort of tried to sort it out with 4G, and they're sort of trying to sort it out even more with 5G. But there's this kind of legacy compatibility issue, and also if you can't get a fast enough speed, then they'll sort of default to a lower standard like 3G or 2G, which is how a lot of this sort of man in the middle attack sniffing stuff works, because your phone is dumb and it's kind of going, I want to find a cell tower, and it sort of goes, well, no, you can't have a 4G tower, you're gonna have to put up with 3G tower or whatever.
Well, we get that quite a lot though.
Exactly.
I've never got down to like 3G, not for a long time, but that's how it happens. That's how it works, though, isn't it?
But those kind of de-escalation attacks then allow them to ask you 3G protocol questions, which reveals your kind of GPS and your SIM number and the hardware phone number and stuff like that. And I don't think they've got it fully sorted in 5G. But 5G is more about it's not so much for us. 4G is plenty good enough for us. It's the machine internet, cars talking to cars and Internet of Things and blah blah blah. Low latency, very short hop.
It's never going to happen.
Do you ever think, because I can't see zero latency,
you can't.
I don't think we're ever going to achieve zero latency, and the only way we can drive autonomous cars is if we have zero latency. We cannot.
No, that's not true.
Really?
Yeah, doesn't have to be zero latency. I mean, you know, that's like saying that we can't have normal cars because our brain can only process the information at a certain speed.
Well, no, because
you know,
we'll
or
be
light
banned
only
from
travels
driving. By the time it becomes, let's say automated, we'll be banned from driving because we can't think that quick at those speeds. And it's the same with like train drivers. They don't, you know, these Eurostar drivers, and they don't drive, you know, they're told by their computer because their brains can't think there's a signal because they can't see it. By the time they've seen it, they've gone past it. It's the computer that's telling them,
Yeah.
you know, the next
But I mean,
signal
I don't
in a
think we're
miles
going to
times
be
red.
whipping around town at, you know, 150, 200 miles an hour.
No, never going to happen.
Well, I mean, it's just not sane, is it?
Like I said, nothing really of his has worked.
I mean,
and
you know,
technically everything he's built is off someone else's. He's not an inventor. He hasn't invented shit. You know, he's just using old technology with modern, you know, modern day graphics. And we spoke about this Musk twat before. You know,
I mean, he's just
absolutely
one disruptive player in the whole scheme of things, really. But yeah, no, I mean, we won't ever get zero latency, obviously, because you know the speed of light is, you know, not.
But
zero
why is everyone
latency.
so hungry for faster upload speeds and, you know, faster
Well, they're not.
internet?
They're
I want
not.
it.
They're not.
Well,
I mean,
you do hear it, don't you? And to me, it's
not
like
so much now. People are getting
I'm pretty
fiber,
good.
and 4G is plenty good enough for most people.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's all just sort of marketing hype and shills that generate that notion. 5G is a kind of waste of a time for humans.
Well, most people can't, you know, streaming wise, 5G is going to make a whole difference for streaming. That's what I can see when it's up and running properly, and we're not just bouncing off of 4G towers with, you know, not even the capacity of 5G at the moment. We think we're getting 5G, but we're not.
I mean, it's about backhaul as well, isn't it? It's like, you know, you might have a very fast, wide bandwidth connection from your phone to the cell tower or 5G node or whatever it is, but it's like the fiber optic on the end of that has got so much capacity. I mean, it's always a problem, isn't it, with streaming, is that you're kind of at a place where you've got 100 or 1,000 other people wanting to stream to their mates as well.
Oh, this is when I get it, right? And you get it. Oh, look, the police are blocking our signals. No, it's just that there's 2,000 people trying to get on the same tower, and you're sharing the bandwidth. That's exactly like you do on your home network. Treat that tower as your home network.
I think you might have sometimes a problem with you know, your phone decoupling from the proper cell to
you're going to the IMSIs, to the Stingrays, to the third party towers.
Then you go through Westminster, and there's definitely sketchy the cell situation around there, for example, around Trafalgar Parliament.
Oh, there is definitely sketchy areas of London where you know that you're not, you know, it's quite easy. You can do it yourself. You know, you can set up a dummy network and get everyone to connect to yours, and they think, you know, you're in sight. You're just a dummy tower.
Cedra sitting back at New Scotland Yard, putting a thumb on the internet pipe. And if they're going to cut it off, they cut it off, and they do have the capability to do that.
Yes, they do.
You know,
I'm not saying they don't.
You know,
they don't happen. Do you think it happens that often in London? You know, at these protests, they're fucking with my signal. No, it's just that.
No, they just turn it off if they do have the power as well to go. I want all of this off.
All these towers off. Exactly, they got it. Especially around Westminster, they can cut it off if they want to.
Crazy Khan.
It's like people don't understand. You know, it's the same thing. It's a bit like Remembrance Day and things like that. People are having problems. Hang on.
When I was in Minsk in 2020 in August, when they revolution was starting, they just cut the internet off for a week. That was it.
That's mad. But I mean, it's mad that they do it, but it's no shock that they can do it.
Yeah.
I'll check that, Billy. They're saying that article from the Daily Mail was fake.
Which article?
The one about the more evidence at sea was tinkered with.
Right.
Saying the
Well, I think that documentary that was shown on the BBC was real enough, wasn't it?
Was it? I don't know. Billy was just saying that. I don't know what to take it at. But.
That guy going on about the splicing and dicing.
Yeah, I was saying about Remembrance Day, and obviously people had a problem then. It was trying to, but you got to remember the BBC there with all their radio fucking waves and shit like that. Their wireless cameras. You see all the dishes dotted around, don't you? Of course, you're going to have a problem. You know.
For the benefit of the viewers from the law enforcement community, I'm a fully prescribed legal cannabis patient.
Yes. Yes.
Before you get any funny ideas, all right.
Mm-hmm. You found that article is real. Well, there you go. If you found it on the thing, Billy, I don't know what you're doing. Hang on. Just check you out, Billy. We're going to check you out.
Unfortunately, my vaporizer is broken.
Billy's comment ain't even. Oh, there he is. Billy. 23rd of December, 21.
I'm literally going to have to go down to a big supermarket and go through the old plastic reading glasses thing.
Mate, this is what these are. 0.25, because I broke my other ones and they were 0.25, so I thought I'd go and get these. But I need to go and have an eye test because they're not good. They're not good at all.
Yeah. And I've also been kind of diagnosed as pre-diabetic, which isn't great for your sight either.
That's not good because you'll get glaucoma and detached retinas.
Hopefully the weed will stave that off.
Well, yeah.
You're changing your diet?
Yeah.
Who, me? Changing my diet? Yeah. I mean, like, I've been trying to get this operation for a block bile duct for just an insane amount of time. It's actually sort of really badly affected my mental health as well. But anyway, I was told I was going to get an operation in about 6 weeks back in August last year. And then, like, I lost a bunch of weight, started walking in preparation for the operation. And then I didn't hear back from the fuckers for 6 months, and they were like, phone me at 8 o'clock in the morning and go, "Oh, can you come in 6 days for this operation?" Yeah. I was like, fuck no, I don't have anyone to look after me. And this is a week before Christmas or 2 weeks before Christmas. I was like, no way. And so it's all kind of gone tits up from there, really.
Let me just change the subject. I like your uplighters in the back. What kind are they?
What, on the sofa?
Behind on the cabinet.
Right.
Okay. Quite
so
nice. I like
that. It's a is it G10 or C10? Those little bulbs.
Yeah. I know them. Yeah.
So it's an £18 4-way one of those off. I unfortunately have to admit I got that off Amazon.
Well, I buy a lot of stuff off Amazon.
I try to buy never from there if I can, but anyway, the lights, the uplighters, are actually 4 little lights off AliExpress, the Zigbee ones.
Oh, Ali.
Yeah, and they were $20 for 4 of them.
That's not bad.
And that's actually going to go up in my bathroom in a little bit, but yeah, it's got different lighting stuff you can do to it, as you can see, because it's hue controllable.
Yeah, I got Mr. Boomer sent me some panel lights today. So I've got the newer ones. They're newer panel lights.
And the LED strip across the back of the
Yeah.
couch there is from Lidl. It was like 14 quid, I think. And that does colour as well. And then the rest of them are real proper hues.
Yeah.
But the hues are kind of, if you take them over to the pure colour, they're okay. But if you sort of like find a colour that's somewhere in between white, they tend to sort of cause interference and flickering and beats, you know. They're not very stable.
Have you noticed though that when you because I find it, I color grade it all perfect on the cameras. As soon as I go into StreamYard, it looks dark as anything. For some reason, I don't know what happens because I'm looking at it on my monitors, right? And the picture looks absolutely fantastic, color lit perfectly. But as soon as I take it into StreamYard, it just goes really dark and shit.
Is your monitor brightness set to sort of in the middle default level?
Yeah, mate, it's not. It's just a monitor. That's all it is. It just feeds the HDMI output from the ATEM because you got a HDMI out, and it just goes into the YOLO box, and I just use the YOLO box as a monitor.
But what's actually plugged into your computer? The YOLO box?
No, the ATEM
USB
comes straight out. No, the ATEM.
Oh, through the USB.
Through the USB-C port straight into the computer.
Yeah, I mean it'll be somewhere in OBS or somewhere along that path.
Not running OBS. Not running OBS at all. It's going straight into StreamYard.
StreamYard, right.
As a camera source, because obviously you know the ATEM, it comes out your ATEM as a camera source, doesn't it?
As a webcam, yeah. I mean you can go into the webcam settings and you might be able to kind of bump it a little bit and make it sort of go through a bit better.
I don't know what
but not wanting to geek out too much, but
I don't want to geek out too much. I don't want to geek people out. Mate. Well, I was well.
And the other alternative is to get the one of them little Black Magic link capture cards.
Yeah.
And feed the output into a capture card and bring it in through a capture card rather than through USB, and then you'll get proper video.
Don't give it out proper video anyway.
Sorry?
How do you mean?
Well, with the mixer you've got, you're pulling in the video through the USB, and the computer is treating the USB video as a USB style feed.
Yeah.
So the driver kind of controls the frame rate and the data rate and all of that kind of malarkey if you've got it kind of auto. Whereas if you kind of come in through a proper video capture device or over the network, as is the case with the Pro version, you are getting a normal proper video signal, an MPEG stream rather than a USB cam stream.
I'm with you. So say, for example, I've connected my ATEM to the network.
Can I interrupt for a sec?
Yeah, go on.
I got to go. Good night, everybody.
Right, good night, mate. I'll speak to you later. I'll be ending soon anyway, you know.
Good night all in the chat.
Night, mate. Night.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Bye.
Take care.
So, for example, if I connect my ATEM to the network, and then obviously my computer's connected to the network, will that then bring everything in or not? Or would it have to be physically still connected to my computer?
If you've got the base model ATEM and not the ATEM Mini Pro, then it pulls the video in through the webcam. Yeah, I mean, if you unplug the webcam and still just had the network in, you'd be able to control it through the app.
But I won't get no video or anything through.
Yeah.
Right, I'm with you. Okay.
I mean, the ATEM Mini Pro has got a built-in hardware encoder, So you can sort of, put in your StreamYard settings straight into the ATEM interface, and it then goes straight out directly to the network, hardware encoded. Yeah.
I don't know what Bianca, what was what happened? What was a Hammer War talking about? I don't know. She said I'll speak to him. So obviously that means me. So we'll wait for her to reply in the chat. There's a bit of a delay. What guy? She'll tell me now. Was it? I don't know, because I think somebody timed out English bottle cap the other day, or banned them, or hid them. I had to go in and do something. So they did something or other. Or was it English breakfast? I'll have a look. Mickey Mouse 123. It shouldn't have been banned, really, because I know Mickey Mouse 123. I'll have a look right now. That's fucking wrong. But I certainly haven't banned anyone, and the mods that I've had in tonight shouldn't have. I'll have a look. Mickey Mouse. I know Mickey Mouse 123. Shouldn't be banned. Community.
Huh?
I'll have a look.
That smoke looks pretty trippy.
Is that on mine or yours?
Just coming up underneath my lens.
I'll have a quick look. Mickey Mouse 123. I hate this because you'll go through your block list, and when you got so many on there, it's fucking mental. I will be 1 minute. I just got to check through this. I am still here. Got my phone going off. There's no one on there so far. Mickey Mouse 123.
Here we go. What was done?
All accounts say we're being banned.
There's a really good film, right? Called Jeremy Bernard Corbyn. What was done?
What was done?
Right, and it's this kind of set in the future, and Jeremy Corbyn had won the election. Yeah, it's really good. You should definitely watch it. It's made by this guy called Bonnie Prince Bob, and part of the thing in this that they end up where every MP has to take DMT before they're allowed to sit in Parliament. Not every time they sit in Parliament.
Requirement, actually. Could be a good requirement.
Yeah, open up the third eye a little bit to, stop being such tossers, as it were. But yeah, great film. I'll put it into. It's kind of a bit tongue in cheek, it's kind of funny, but it's
right.
A top film.
I've just gone through the whole hidden user, right? And Mickey Mouse 123 is not in there at all. I'm going through it again, but he's definitely not in there. So what I suggest they do is unsubscribe from the channel and resubscribe, because there's some funny stuff. Min's been a supporter of mine for ages, and every so often she gets timed out, and it's none of my moderators doing it. So it's YouTube do some weird stuff, and I'm not using it as an excuse. They do really weird stuff.
The they you sort of get subjects like news and games and all that coming up. You can sort of go not interested,
Yep.
But the COVID news one, they just keep on banging up again and again
all the time.
And I've never had that before with any other thing that I've got rid of. It's just gone. That's it. I mean, how petty is that? You know what I mean? No, you shall watch every single thing. And it's all, the thing is, it's all pictures of Boris in the thumbnails. Boris Gurning to one degree or another.
Oh,
Trying to sort of give that Churchill-esque kind of.
I've just checked it again, and Mickey Mouse is definitely. Yeah, I sorted that out. English bottle cap. I sorted that out, but I've just checked. Mickey Mouse 123 isn't on there. I even know the color of the logo because I'm sure it's like a pinky logo. So, but all I can say is unsubscribe and then resubscribe again. That might help. So yeah, Trudeau is a tyrant. Yeah, you are right. What do you do? What do you do with
I
him?
mean, he's not even a tyrant. He's just a
puppet.
He's just someone's biatch. Yeah.
It's like they all are, really. I believe.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's all sorts of different puppet masters, if you want to put it like that. But I mean, the WEF and all the kind of World Bank and the crossover.
It's all down to the WEF,
that.
isn't it? That's what to me, everything's down to the WEF.
Isn't that the guard woman some high up in there as well, or is she gone? Because she was kind of indicted and convicted when whatever she was in France, and then she just swanned off to go to the World Bank or World Economic Forum or something as the MD of that. It's like, what the fuck?
It's like this whole thing. What do you make of yesterday? Metropolitan Police issued a statement regarding the Hammersmith and Fulham investigation.
I only skimmed it, but I mean, it's one of those things where, was it real in the first place? Are they doing anything? I mean, it's kind of all going around in circles. I mean, there is that law company involved in it, so I guess it must have been real. But going on the sort of bullet points I saw in one post, I mean, it's a farce, isn't it? We just can't rely on the police anymore. But I mean, if you didn't realize that already, with the shenanigans that we've been having our nose rubbed in great big piles of it day after day, then I mean, yeah, I mean, we could get all philosophical about it, and sort of we've kind of resigned our responsibility as voters and members of society to kind of, it's all too complicated, we'll let them get on with it. And they've got on with it. They've made everything more secret and NDAs all the time, and that's obviously going to eventually manifest in corruption and poor administration. So, and that's where we're at.
Someone says, Bob, that's the Nazi police protecting the Nazi establishment. Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. But I did say that, though, didn't I? I said, even if it is real, nothing's going to happen because the police are complicit within the crimes. So they're not going to investigate themselves. No. And we've said it all along. There ain't going to be a Nuremberg. It'll be nice, but it ain't going to happen.
I mean, it's crazy with this woman that was head of the Met in the first place. I mean, the lead on one of the biggest sort of high profile clusterfucks of modern policing in London, murdering an innocent member of the public, and they couldn't find another person out of the entire police force to come and run the Met. And she's Dame this and CB whatever that, and she's gone off with a nice extra bung and a nice pension, and it's like, what? I mean, it's so blatantly she was a captured individual doing her bit for the wrong uns, basically. I mean, we've got fucking Savage Javid's brother as some high up commander as well.
He's a commander. He's a Boer commander, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, but it won't be somebody from the UK who's going to be the next Met commander.
You reckon?
There ain't going to be anybody because it's been talked about last year. Patel said that she wanted a new broom and possibly somebody. They were looking to Australia to become,
What, that is just more clusterfuck.
Well, that's what was. You look at a news article back
Atomization,
last
undermining.
September. Yeah,
It's like, how is that ever a good idea?
well, that's
You
it.
know, I mean, it was like
know how
having
bad Australia is,
whatever his
don't you?
name
With
was,
their
Mark
police.
bloody Carney running the Bank of England before he went off to do his more globalist shit. I mean, it never ends, does it?
Yeah, really, they don't. When they employ police officers, they don't psychosomatic test. Well, I don't know what sort of testing they do because they let some fucked up people in the force, don't they? Don't they do psych tests and shit like that? Or is that what the police force does to you? Turn you into a raving psychopath?
Well, I think it's all of the above, really.
Oh, yeah, more than likely, isn't it?
I mean, nothing. I mean, things change a bit, but things change but stay the same. The only thing that really change is the kind of strokes they try to pull to kind of reframe it for the public.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're sort of like bombarded with this kind of narrative of violent crime when violent crime has decreased and decreased and decreased since the 70s. And, we're kind of hoodwinked into this idea that police are bombing around London in their police cars, saving us all from being stabbed. Yeah. In a town of 7 million people, how many people get stabbed a year? Yet, you can barely get the bastards to take a crime report, if you get burgled or whatever. And how many of those ever get cleared up? Like, fuck all. The police, the genuine old proper, like report crime policing has been sort of let go by the wayside whilst they engage in this PR operation of bombing around in ever more sort of militaristic vehicles and equipment to look after this threat that we're under, that we perceive.
I see former London Mayor Ken Livingstone has said is worrying how one-sided coverage of a crisis can be. Ken Livingstone has said it's a major concern that the British people don't understand many aspects of the Ukrainian crisis because they are simply aren't told by the media. Well, that's quite true, isn't it? They just say the Russians are coming. We
haven't got Scooby-Doo about any depth to any subject that affects us all.
No.
It's in the last 20 years, what has happened is kind of insane. We are living in an insane time. I mean, what we're expected to swallow, the way that we're manipulated back and forth. I mean, we've just had a 2-year lockdown. If that isn't insane and we can't grasp that.
Yep. I think I'm just posting all these things. I should have posted them on Boomerang. I didn't see them in the chat. Canadian. Here we go. Canadian PM Justin Trudeau set to revoke Emergencies Acts. 2 government sources claim Justin Trudeau is about to roll back the act now that protesters in Ottawa are over. I don't know.
And they'll spin it as to him being some kind of bringer of democracy.
Democracy back to the streets of Ottawa.
Mm.
Yeah. There would be spun something like that, wouldn't it?
They should bloody well all pile back in there as soon as he does it and see what he does then.
So, hang on. Oh, he did post that as well tonight. Oh, this is a good one. Something about Ukraine. I got to quickly make a banner on it so you can see it. Scroll past, add banner. Oh. Yeah, so I've asked President Putin to help repel aggression. So basically, leaders of these provinces have asked Putin, I believe, for help. Yeah, but it'll be spanners that he's invading Quick, Russians across the border, they're invading the Ukraine. Let's go and bomb the shit out of him and then start World War III and then retreat to our bunker where we're all nice and safe while the population are exterminated. Can you just imagine that? We all get fucking wiped out and the likes of Biden and all that are still surviving, and that's going to carry on the human race.
Well, I suppose on a more positive note, I think, well, I mean, it could be just the Americans baiting in order to just like fear porn the American populace into handing over yet more insane defense budget increases. But I've seen stuff about the Russians have kind of invested in these hypersonic delivery systems that are kind of mind-bogglingly faster than existing missile technology. So, you know, we may fry in an American nuclear stew.
It would be
hopefully
so nice to
the
see, though,
Russians will get the Americans for us as well.
Well, it would be nice because at the end of the day, it's like you said. You know, I've watched a lot of it's not documentaries, there's a series on. I've started watching it on Amazon Prime called Man in the High Castle.
Oh God, yeah, that one.
You know what I mean? It's like the parallels. You know what happens if you know it was Japan and Germany.
I'm trying to. I'll just have to remember what it was called. It was kind of. It was basically two sort of parts of the multiverse kind of started having leaky gut syndrome or whatever. They had parts of the kind of antithesis of our world leaking through to this world, and they came up with ways to try and stop it, and it was great. Hang on, I'll remember the name of it in a minute. But yeah, it's like we're listening. It was called Fringe. It's like we're living in Fringe.
Yeah, he was like he done some weird shit, didn't he? He's nutty professor. Yeah,
and
it was like he did something with the eyes, in it, because he said the eyes took a photograph at the last second they're alive, and he actually took the eyes out and shone a light through it. And seen the last image and
all
shit
sorts
like
of
that.
wacky shit like that. Yeah,
shit like that. Yeah,
my camera's just died.
Battery's going flat, is it?
Yeah, I'm just going to grab another one.
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to remember that the other week because I was referring to that Fringe.
Yeah, no, it was hilarious, that was. But yeah, I mean, this last 2 years kind of feels like an episode of Fringe.
I can't understand it. It's just been, to me, it's just been a laugh a minute. You know, it's just been one of those things. I think, you know, we're never going to experience. You know what I mean? They didn't even lock you down during the war, did they? During the Blitz and shit like that. If you wanted to walk the streets whilst you're being bombed, you did it, didn't you? You know, it's like you can't walk the street because there's a little bit of wind, it might blow you away. So we're having an emergency day, so we're locking everyone down. It's just getting absolutely stupid. You know what I mean?
And
go outside because it's
all the time
too warm.
You struggle with the kind of trying to rationalize it all, going, well, yeah, it is only about the COVID, it is only about this, it is only about that, it can't be really what it appears to be, you know what I mean? And it just keeps on going, oh yeah, well, you know, that kind of proves the point, doesn't it? And it's like we're at the point where they're kind of, you know, bringing in martial law because, you know, a couple hundred truckers are pissed off with it, you know.
Well, yeah, yes, well,
and actively, you know, stifling legitimate protest, going into people's bank accounts, all that kind of stuff.
That's effortly wrong.
Yeah,
to even have the ability to do that anyway is wrong. Sorry, you know, if no one could turn around, regardless of where you stand politically, no one can say that's right. No one can justify, you know, going into somebody else's bank account, taking their money away, freezing their assets just because the government doesn't like what they're protesting about. That is, you know, that's not 1984. then we've lost. We've got no chance. Absolutely, gone.
I mean, it's all about sort of narratives, isn't it? As well, I mean, it seems that all of these narratives are all sort of disseminated throughout the G7 and Western nations at the same time. So, you've got Boris and people like Piri Patel talking about right-wing domestic extremism, and you've got kind of Biden mentioning similar things as well. But at the same time, we've got a reality where, fairly small c conservative, mid-country norms or whatever are getting to breaking point with corruption, with the endless jam tomorrow, with the kind of bullshit that we're fed every day. And, eventually people are going to get pissed off. And, we've got a fully wrapped and packaged narrative already that, it's all right-wing Nazi extremists waving Nazi flags or whatever. And people like Justin Trudeau, because this narrative is already established, can, well, maybe not get away with it, but certainly think that he can just go and pull shit like that. And it's something that they can actually, have a go at. I mean, whether they backpedal very quickly or not.
Well, that's to be seen, isn't it? There's obviously been reports that he is going to revoke the Emergencies Act, but, it's a bit like the COVID regulations, isn't it? Which is due to be renewed. Is it in March? Is that going to be repealed?
Or is it UK?
Yeah, because that law is still in place. The law is still there. It hasn't been repealed yet.
Well, I mean, I haven't read the updates or anything, but I read the original 300-page one, and some of the stuff in there is kind of, I mean, at the time when I read it, when it first came out, I was like, this isn't going to be a couple of weeks to flatten the curve type of thing. There's no way.
We always knew that, didn't we?
Yeah. But like, I think what they will probably do is go, well, we're going to roll it back, and they'll just sort of start dismantling the bits that are trivial, but the bits that they've put in there that are really kind of
stay
WTF-y are going to kind of just stay, aren't they? And we've got no effective challenge, opposition or challenge in this country. Keir Starmer is a fully paid up Sir QC, sworn an oath to the Queen, and all of that shite.
But he's did lots of things throughout his time that is questionable.
Oh,
that's,
he's a dodgy establishment shill. And, these pearl clutcher bourgeoisie sort of woke Labour types who aren't the real working class, who back him up to the hill. They're just see you next Tuesdays, basically.
Well, they all are, mate.
He's nearly bankrupted it, and he's kind of done it on a narrative of racism and anti-Semitism against people who are kind of like spent their whole lives standing up against shit like that. It's mental. But I mean, I think that's all part of the gaslighting. He knows he's part of the establishment, and it's like this. As long as you're gaslighting the plebs, somebody said in the chat
that some of the measures will be permanent from the act. So you were right.
Yeah.
But on that note, I'm going to bring it to the end because I'm coming up to 3 hours nearly.
Cool.
I got to cart all this stuff in from the studio, and it's a pain. It is an absolute pain in the ass.
Right.
But it's always good, mate. Always good to chat.
Yeah, indeed.
Always good.
Indeed.
Oh, I got a new email.
I'll have to. I keep on sort of meaning to kind of write a few things down and sort of try and maybe have a sort of let's tackle this one tonight sort of thing.
Yeah, I tried to on a Saturday have a more structured. This was like a little, midweek chat because I just
certainly
test
plenty
a few
to talk
things
about at the moment. But yeah, I mean, my overall thoughts at the moment is just until we can really, really take on board, viewing everything through divide and rule, and that's what the game is. We're going to be kind of running around in circles in little groups and not really, focusing on the real baddies in this.
That's it. Everything's a distraction, mate. You just got to,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our whole reality is curated.
Of course it is. On that note, I thank you.
Good night.
Yeah, thanks for joining me, Drew. Always a pleasure. You can catch me on Telegram anytime, you know that. Well, we talk on Telegram anyway.
Indeed.
But
Well,
thanks for joining me, mate. I will,
all right. Have a good one.
Yeah, I'll see you
Take
soon.
care.
Ta-da,
Bye.
mate. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye. Oh, full screen Chris. Hello. How? Am I allowed to do that? How? I don't know if I offend some people, but not allowed to do that anymore. But anyway, guys, I got this song. So should I play some inspirational music to get us all thinking? Because we do live in an age where we have to think of others, but not until we think about ourselves, isn't it? I quite like this. Quite ponder what it's all about. Well, what is bullshit and what is the truth? It's like I said, the only real way is to build a parallel, until we become stronger than they are, until nobody listens to them anymore. It starts off small, isn't it? It's like a pebble in a ripple effect. It takes that one pebble to make it grow, doesn't it? It's the only way we're going to win anymore. Following, protesting, shouting inside empty buildings it just don't work. It's just a way of releasing the tension. But people sometimes don't like the truth. But you have to live with it, don't you? But again, thank you everybody for joining me. That's what makes it, isn't it? If you're going to build a community, this is how you build it. It starts off small and it grows until they don't listen to those in Parliament anymore. Until we control and we've taken back the power. But we have to do it, don't we? But until the next time, I've been Tyrant Finder UK. It's always a pleasure to have you joining me. I do appreciate each and every single one of you. But the main thing is, just be kind to each other. Live by 3 things: injury, harm, and loss. If you live by those 3 things in life, you should never ever go wrong. Again, I've been Tyrant Finder UK. Good night. And remember, you can join my other social media platforms. Remember, my website is the most important. You can join that at www.tyrantfinder.uk. Odyssey can be joined at @tyrantfinderuk, and Ghetto is also by the same name. And remember, everything that's said in this show is my own opinion and no one else's.